There we go.
Perfect. So, welcome one and all to another episode of the Wiki Weekdays podcast. I'm your host for this episode, Karl Smallwood, joined as ever by the illustrious, lovely Lucas Holland.
Hello there.
And for anyone who's tuning in for the first time, or for the first time in a long time, the format of this podcast is very simple. Myself and or Lucas will bring forward a wiki for discussion that we find somewhere online, and then we're going to bring it forward for discussion, go through it, see what kind of conversation arises as a result, and then ask you, our audience, to vote on which wiki you thought won this week. When we say which wiki we thought won this week, we mean which one do you think brought forward the best discussion? For example, last week we talked about Arnold J. Rimmer and what, Lucas?
Talked about Jack, aka Subject Zero from Mass Effect 2 and 3.
Yes, and our audience over on Discord, which you can find link below, decided that the conversation about Arnold J. Rimmer from the Red Dwarf series was more interesting. So I'm the winner. Big winner, Karl.
Karl gets internet points.
The big Karl, I'm winning again. Let's fucking go.
And just as I know I've shown this on screen, I forgot the other day, my manager broke me a little bit. Because I brought this little water bottle in to work. And they're like, hey, it's you. And I was like, what do you mean? And they were like, well, it's like a pink torso for your skin colour, then there's the ginger beard and the blue hair.
Oh man, that's
I was like, oh no.
Lucas is so committed to branding, even his water bottle looks like me. In which case, mine looks like me because it's just completely fucking clear. There's nothing to it. There's nothing inside. Or maybe for the ladies out there, it's something you desperately need inside of you at all times. You always need more of this in you.
I'm gonna retract that statement from Cole right there. I am
You're retracting my statement.
Yeah, I'm retracting on your behalf. I don't want to.
Okay, you're retracting my fucking statement.
I'm wingmanning you right now, Carl. I'm saying no, that's not acceptable.
Let's move swiftly on to another thing that we like to do on this podcast. If you want to vote on which wiki you thought won this week, listen to the end of the episode, have a think about which one you thought brought forward the best discussion, and then go to our Discord and vote. And while you're there, why not vote on the pet of the week, which is just something we've invited our patrons to do, is submit pictures of their pets, animals, and birds that fly past their window. The blurrier the better, and put them in our Discord. And the one that won for this week has no name.
Has zero name.
Zero name. It was just posted with the caption of "they sit on their throne, judging all that fall below them," with no name. So we've referred to today, this week's pet of the week as simply His Highness.
All we know is he's sitting on his throne, right? That's all we got told.
Yeah. So simply His Highness. So, we all bow in reverence to His Highness.
And you mentioned, pets flying, not necessarily being pets, but, shit flying past your window and stuff. I did know that someone posted a possum. I'm like, this is stuck in our ceiling, and we can't get rid of this possum.
The amount of times, people in America, just, are on Reddit and stuff there's an animal in my walls. And it's like, stop building a house out of fucking wood. There's rocks in the ground. Build it out of that.
It's true, but I am astounded of how cheap it is to build an American house out of those materials, right?
You say that, but then you go on to Zillow and look how much American houses cost.
No, not to purchase the houses. If you're building one, bricks compared to wood, the wood is a lot cheaper. The way they build them in America, a lot of the time is way cheaper. Buying them for some reason doesn't seem to be much cheaper anymore. Yeah,
everything over here is built with concrete. For example, the place that I'm in now, when I bought it, that's to do the usual land survey. And after Grenfall, they understandably have to do a lot of tests of what's the cladding in your building? What's the fire safety certificate for your building? And mine's it's made out of fucking concrete. It's not going to catch on fire.
Yeah, and a lot of the houses are made out of brick and stuff, right? Primarily they're all made out of brick still, and it's just.
Or if it's a council house, it's Lego brick.
Yeah, it's a bit dodgy depending on the era that it was made, but.
Or if it's a new build, it's MDF and Dreams, right?
It's made out of brick, but each brick has got random assortments between of just hopes and dreams, as you say.
I'll never forget a friend of mine when he said he bought an house. And they were doing some repairs, and it had been bodged beyond all bodge. Bodge being a euphemism in the UK for just redneck engineering in America. They just absolutely did a shit job. But they'd already bought it and they got it sight on scene. It's that instead of putting insulation in the walls, it was newspaper and bread.
I don't know whether it's the same friend that you're referring to, but I do remember that was our one friend that like bought a new build as their first house, and
it's not the same friend, but yeah, that new build was terrible, right?
Yeah, they bought a new build, and
fun fact, that's where the first factory videos were recorded, in that guy's kitchen.
Yeah, and well, less than 10 years on, like maybe 5 years on, they went to go sell it, and it was like, hey, do you know there's a load of problems you're gonna have to solve before that you sell this house? Like, there's a shit ton wrong with it. He's like, what do you mean it was built like 5-10 years ago? It's like, yeah, it's fucked.
Yep. But either way, we digress. But if you would like to submit some blurry like pet photos, you can do so. The links found below. If you'd like to vote on some blurry pet photos, you can do so. The links are found below.
And you don't even need to be a patron. You just need to be on a Discord to vote towards the pet of the week.
You also as well just need to really like voting on pictures of pets.
It's one of the things that I, think that keeps our podcast a bit different and fun, right? It's just that every week we don't get we'd like to get sponsors on, don't get me wrong. Every week we don't have a brand new sponsor, but we do have a new fun pet to look at least.
I've got a right good new gimmick for next month, but I can't share it because it's such a good gimmick. I'm afraid someone else will steal it. So we need to put it in one of our videos first, and that way, once we've done it, no one can rip us off without us being like, "You ripped us off. That was our thing."
Can't just put Tudgy Tudge in every single title that we put out.
I absolutely can. I will do it even more, Lucas. But speaking of our patrons, though, we should give some of them a shout out, right? That's the thing we do.
It was not.
I'm reading from your list. I'm reading from your list. I'm going to react to it now. Look, get the laughing emoji. There you go.
No, we need to talk about the Patreon votes.
Oh yeah, that's the thing.
It's in the list.
It is in the list, yeah. But I just thought that would come naturally as we talked about everything else, right?
Okay, I just was going in chronological order. I was like, Karl skipped something that I put.
Chaos order, baby, chaos order. What do you need to mention, Lucas?
Well, just that for the next couple of days, as this podcast has gone live, we still have the ability for people on a $5 tier on a Patreon or up to go and vote for what we talk about in a week and a half's time on our weekend videos, right?
Yes, audience suggestions.
Yeah, we have the audience votes every month, and this month, Karl has put up a picture which is on the poll. You can go look at his bookshelf and vote for which shelf you want to vote for him to pick a topic off, right? Of you've got various things on each shelf. Vote for a shelf which looks appealing to you, and Karl will pick a topic from something on that shelf.
Yes, or inspired by something on that shelf. And there's plenty of things on that shelf. It's it's my typical YouTuber gamer shelf, but I have it in my living room because I use the things that are on the shelf.
Yeah, and then for myself, I went and talked about mostly, I think, all 90s Robin Williams videos where there is Hook, Flubber, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Toys. And I've never seen Toys. So if you vote for Toys, I will watch Toys and talk about Toys. If you vote for Hook, Karl's never seen Hook, so Karl's going to go and watch Hook. And then the other two are just films that we're both familiar with.
Yes. I'll probably rewatch that as well.
So yeah, go and let us know what you'd like to see us talk about over on that side. But yes, sorry, Karl. We'll get back to shouting out the people on our shout-out tier on our Patreon as well.
Would you like to start, or should I?
I will start with shouting out. I'm Chambers.
Well, I'll start with the longer name that you clearly want me to read out because it's longer, with Fallopian Starship Presents The Womb of Doom. And we talked about Doom, so
we did.
It's fitting.
And I wouldn't have gone the route because afterwards I have to say, Kicking Bucket enjoys the bit, but they are subscribed to other patrons, so this long-winded name needs to be changed at some point.
That's Point without a T.
Point.
As in Poindexter. Followed by Tam McKee.
Lucille DeSteele.
Marcus.
B of Awesome, with multiple B emojis afterwards. I believe it's 5 B emojis right now.
Yeah, the B army grows. Woos Willy's Wonka.
Llama de Llama.
The Littlest of Ghosts. Or Little Ghost. I'd like adding Littlest. It's fun.
Little Ghost. And Judge Dredd. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you very much. And Lucas, I believe it'll be your turn to open. So what's the wiki you brought forward? I can assume from the thumbnail it is something to do with our Lord and Kong Saviour, the thriller gorilla himself.
Yeah, I believe the Latin is Dongus Congus, right?
I think the Latin is just right? talking about I said the thriller gorilla himself, Donkey Kong, but is it something specific related to Donkey Kong, or is it Donkey Kong the character, or
No, we are
what
talking about the character from MarioWiki.com. We're just talking about Donkey Kong as a character, not as a series of like video games or anything. We are just talking about the character Donkey Kong.
Okay, so we need to know which Donkey Kong, because for those of you out there who maybe think, is Donkey Kong just the gorilla from Mario games, right? You don't know about the deep, deep Kong lore.
I mean, it's not that deep, right? It's just...
Well, it kind of is.
There's 2 generations of Donkey Kongs.
There's a lineage.
There's a lineage, but there's 2 Donkey Kongs that are known as Donkey Kong. And also there's Donkey Kong Jr. thrown in the mix, where the original Donkey Kong from the arcade is canonically confirmed to be now Cranky Kong.
Yes.
Then, after...
I think there's some lore, man. The Kong lore.
Then you play as Donkey Kong Jr. trying to rescue Donkey Kong in the Donkey Kong Jr. games, and that is Donkey Kong, aka Cranky Kong's son.
Yeah, fun facts as well. The only Mario game in which Mario plays an antagonistic role.
Yeah, or multiple technically, because I think even in Donkey Kong, Jumpman was referred to as like someone who was imprisoned Donkey Kong at some point. If not, it was definitely in the Donkey Kong Jr. games where Mario and Jumpman imprisoned Donkey Kong.
Do you remember, for the longest time, we've got our mutual friend who their Discord profile photo is just it changes to whatever meme they find funny.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember, like, during the pandemic when we play Smash Bros once a week to stave off going fucking stir crazy?
Of course.
They had their profile photo for the longest time of just the chained Kong.
The chained Kong from Super Mario RPG, which I'm just finishing up streaming and having to, like, I'm currently power leveling that end game because holy shit, I was not prepared for doing the super bosses.
Well, it's the thing is, just when we talk about the deep Kong lore, we're only kind of joking. Since Super Mario RPG, there is like a character called a chained Kong. That is their only designation within the game's files. And when you read the description, it says a victim of the Kong War, and they never tell you what the Kong War is.
It is just apes that they're all looking like similar to Donkey Kong in terms of like body shape, but they're slightly different. They're not Donkey Kong, they're just a generic like chained ape.
A chained Kong.
Chained Kong. And they are just a gorilla looking being that is an ape with a ball and chain on their ankle. And they're just called Chained Kong, and it's just they're a victim of the Kong War.
You never find out what the Kong War is. It's like everyone always points out in like Red and Blue, right, Pokemon, that just Lieutenant Surge drops the hardest line out of nowhere, and it's never ever expanded upon. It's like, yeah, during the war, wait, there's a war? Yeah, electric Pokemon saved my life by zapping my enemies to death.
Yeah.
And then they never bring it up ever again.
Like, they very quickly steered away from, hey, maybe we shouldn't have that as, like, a primary force within this just, you know, children's franchise, right? But obviously,
as a result,
the Pokemon...
we can only read that as in being legit, right?
Yeah, he's a lieutenant, he's dressed in army gear, and he talks about a legitimate war, and obviously there's a lack of, like, parental male figures within the Pokemon world as well.
That's what people have extrapolated from it, right? And I don't like that fan theory.
Well, people have extrapolated, like, what is genuinely there, right? Like, in those couple of early games, there are a lack of men, and there are a lack of specifically, like, fathers in that game, and you know, it definitely is fan fiction. I don't read it as being real to any extent, but there is like little hints here and there early on, whereas clearly they went from like the Pokemon original manga was really quite adult to realizing very fast that hey, we need to be selling kids.
And like later games in the series completely discount the idea there's any sort of strife or like war going on. But he still makes Lieutenant Surge a weird character. But yeah, bring it back to Donkey Kong, the deep Kong lore. So we have like the original Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., who's now Cranky Kong, and the Donkey Kong from the games is.
So there's something weird that goes on with Donkey Kong Jr. as far as I'm aware. Donkey Kong Jr. is like done. I don't know if it becomes like Funky Kong or some shit, but as far as I'm aware,
he might have done. He might have gone. He went to college.
Yeah,
put his Hawaiian shirt on, and became Party Kong.
Like. Funky Kong might be DK Jr., I'm not sure. Like, someone might become...
He's the forgotten son, right?
But he's like the forgotten middle generation where just... It's Cranky Kong, which was original DK, then Donkey Kong Jr., then Donkey Kong Jr.'s son is now
the Donkey Kong the third.
DK the third is the current DK as far as I'm aware. And, you know, people may be able to... I'm not the biggest
Wiki can surely help us out here, right?
I'm sure the Donkey Kong... Like, yeah, the Mario Wiki might get into it. If not, Donkey Kong fans will let us know. But anyway, we have a quote here from Donkey Kong from Donkey Kong Country. Wasn't really aware that they talked. Again, this is just me like, I'm just currently, hey, all I'm doing is I'm fucking hyped for Nintendo Switch 2 and I want to talk about Nintendo shit. And there's a new Donkey Kong game coming out and I'm hyped to talk about Donkey Kong and Nintendo.
You're in the greatest thing ever. Just, what do you like? Well, Mario's all about jumping and like leaping over things, and Donkey Kong's like, you fucking idiot! Why not go straight through them?
Why don't just punch your way through all of it, you fucking moron? But Donkey Kong says, my bananas and my buddy Diddy Kong, they are gone. The Kremlins, they will pay. I'll hunt them down every corner of my island until I have every last banana from my hoard back. Spoken like a true billionaire right there, Donkey Kong.
But at the same time, they are his bananas.
They are.
The other thing about billionaires, like they don't actually work to attain their fabulous, enormous wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Donkey Kong gets every single one of those fucking like, bananas by hand.
Yeah.
They're his bananas.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't want to pay his taxes. That's like a billionaire.
So what it does say here as well, by the way,
yes,
it says that the species for Donkey Kong is Kong, and their first appearance is Donkey Kong as the original Donkey Kong, which links you to a page for Cranky Kong from 1981, and then Donkey Kong
Mansell.
Yeah, and then Donkey Kong Country is the current Donkey Kong from 1994.
Okay, the Donkey Kong is a mantle. You earn the mantle of the Kong.
Again, it's just the same people that are too lazy to come up with a name for their own like child, right? It's not necessarily a mantle, it's just that Donkey Kong's never came up with a new name.
Well, they are gorillas, and they've got more important things to worry about, right? Like amassing more bananas.
Yeah, exactly. I ain't got time to worry about figuring out a new name. Otherwise, you know, everyone else in the Donkey Kong family seems to like the Kong family. You know, you got like Dixie Kong, Diddy Kong, Lanky Kong.
Yeah, you haven't got fucking time.
Funky Kong. They're all coming up with new names, like Candy Kong. Donkey Kong is just Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong. But
Donkey Kong the third. Tell me more about Donkey Kong.
Well, I just want to go back to mentioning that, like, we make our, like... I mention a similarity to billionaires. Donkey Kong is in a jungle where he just has amassed an entire cavern's worth of like a giant DK banana hoard. Way more.
Well, they're his.
Yeah, but way more than any Kong could seemingly eat, right?
Oh yeah, but they're his bananas.
They are. But he's like a Smaug living on his own giant wealth of bananas.
Smaug stole the gold. He stole it from the dwarves.
Where did the bananas come from? He doesn't have a farm.
He collected them.
Yeah, he collected them just like Smaug collected the gold, Karl.
No, the games are all about wandering around the environment collecting bananas.
Yes,
yeah,
picking the rare bananas from the natural resources and destroying the natural environment, Karl.
You know what? If you want one, go get it off him. Beat him in a fist fight and he'll give you his banana.
Beat him in a fist fight. Smaug in a fist fight and he'll give you some gold.
I'll fuck you fat. That's the point. If you do kill Smaug, you get his gold. That's the point, right? They want.
If I kill Jeff Bezos, do I get his gold?
No, that's why I don't respect him.
God damn it.
If you had a standing order of anyone who's strong enough to kill me gets my money, I'd respect him. Donkey Kong's like, if you're strong enough to beat me, you can have my banana hoard. But that's why he doesn't like when people steal it.
That's why he's pissy when like
through subterfuge.
When the Kremlins come in and steal it under his sleep, right? Just.
Yeah.
He wakes up one day and it's all fucking gone. Like, you could have fought me for it.
Yeah, and that's if you beat him, he probably would be alright with it. But no one can beat Donkey Kong. And that's why they have to steal it. They have to resort to underhanded tactics. Because they know in a straight up fist fight.
Or Mario just jailing him.
Yeah, the jailed Kong.
The last thing is, as far as I'm aware, it's only Cranky Kong's version of DK that was lost to Mario, which means that he was just not good enough.
Yeah. And Donkey Kong, I don't think it's ever suffered like a canonical loss, right?
I don't think current Donkey Kong, like Donkey Kong Country onwards, has. But yeah. We do have here just Donkey Kong, also known as DK, or D.K. or really known as D Kong, Donkey or Kong.
No, he's
like,
not.
No, he's not known as D Kong. I'm sorry, but they are a major character in the Super Mario franchise and the main protagonist of the Donkey Kong franchise. And just doesn't that suck that Donkey Kong is the one that kicked this all off? And he's known as a character within Super Mario.
Yeah, like the first game in the series is not called Mario, it's called fucking Donkey Kong.
That's the thing, is like Mario was called Jumpman in that original Donkey Kong arcade. Like Donkey Kong is the one that really kicked off franchises for Nintendo. And immediately he got kicked down the curb and just got told, no, you're part of the Super Mario franchise. I fucking started this.
But doesn't that make Mario seem even more badass than he already is? Because it's like, he walked into it's like the meme, isn't it? Like, walked into franchise, takes over, becomes mascot, refuses to elaborate, wahoo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We talked about Mario on a Wiki Weekends episode, right? And we joked about he might be the most skilled mortal man in fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Batman can't do as much shit as Super Mario can.
Yeah, he's got like every single profession under his wing, and I do like the theory. I don't. Again, I have fun with these theories. I don't believe any of them, but the idea that there's like a secret third Mario brother, and that third Mario brother is Dr. Mario, and he's the Mario that went off to college and got a degree. It's
the Mario movie came out, and someone's like, "Who's this third Mario brother?"
Because
you see on the wall was an L, was an M, and there's an S.
Yeah.
Who's the S? It's like it's a pizza restaurant, small, medium, large, dipshit.
Who is like Sario? It's like, no, just small, medium.
Yeah. But people are like, oh, is that hinting at a third Mario brother? It's like, no, that's the pizza sizes.
Super Big Dick Mario, that's what it stands for.
Well, that's another one as well. Have you ever had the argument of what is Mario's default form?
Oh, because Super Mario is when he has the mushroom, right?
Yeah, and he starts most games, at least most levels. Obviously, in cutscenes and stuff in later games, he is Super Mario.
Yeah.
But normally, like when you start playing the game, he's Little Mario. Is that default Mario?
Little Mario, I guess, should be default Mario. The little tiny pixelated version, because he gets a super mushroom and becomes Super Mario.
Yeah. Or is he just Super Mario in the Mushroom Kingdom? Because there's like weird shit going on in the Mushroom Kingdom.
Yeah. But like that does make sense, right? Is like his transformations are Mario, Super Mario, then like, you know, the power-ups after that, like Fire Mario, Star Mario stuff. The default Mario is the one where you are one hit away from death.
Yeah, because obviously he's just a guy. He's just a plumber.
He's a guy that's just like about the size of a Goomba.
He's just a plumber. And that's what I like about like that. I know people have qualms with the Super Mario show. Like, the accent is awful.
Hey,
and the live
Luigi!
action segment were cringy. But I do like, there's a couple episodes where it's like, how are we going to get out of here? And Mario's like, well, I'm a plumber, dipshit. And he just like reconfigures the pipes to escape. Yeah. It's like, yeah, I like when he uses plumbing powers.
Mm-hmm. But no, I did that Super Mario Bros. Show where they're like 40-odd-year-old men going, hey, Luigi, like, get to the pipe. And it's like, oh no.
My favourite bit is the actors who clearly don't know what a video game is trying to dance to the Mario soundtrack. They're like, duh, 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 duh. It's like, if I could ever go back in time and be an actor, I'd want to get a job on that show. Because like, they didn't know what video games were. Like, if you ask that guy, do you know what a Mario is? He'd be like, I don't know what a fucking Mario is.
I'd love to like be on the set, but not necessarily a main character within the Super Mario Bros. Movie, just to see how badly that shit went down.
Oh yeah, like I want to be like Bob Hoskins, like PA, and just be bringing in the shots of whiskey between takes.
Is that I want to be watching them panic on the set of Street Fighter the movie as Jean-Claude Van Damme That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's too busy doing coke and banging Kylie Minogue to show up to set, and they're all just sat there like, he's the fucking main character, where is he?
The thing about that movie, though, I'll always give Jean-Claude Van Damme respect. One, he banged Kylie Minogue. Two, he did a flash kick in real life.
But still, apparently every day of that movie, and we'll have to I'll have to watch it properly and cover it at some point, because most days on that set apparently were just, well, Jean-Claude's not turned up again because he's in another coke spiral. Let's just spend one day figuring out a fight scene with the people we've at least got on set.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll have to cover that, because that is a fascinating work of art.
The best bit is that Capcom specifically handpicked Jean-Claude Van Damme to play Guile. Like, Guile's like the all-American guy. He's literally got a fucking he's got one American flag on each bicep, so he's always America.
Yeah, but does the name Jean-Claude Van Damme not sound American to you?
The muscles from Brussels. Wild.
The fucking, even like Kylie Minogue, the British spy that's played by an Australian pop star, right?
Like, to be fair, like, Kylie Minogue looked the part.
She looked the part for sure, but just like, well, Julia sitting there going, I'm acting in circles around everyone, where's my paycheck?
He wasn't even trying. He had stomach cancer when he was making that movie, and he still got more energy than Jean-Claude Van Damme, who was high on coke. How do you have more energy than the dude who's just just got off a coke binge and had sex with Kylie Minogue? I would have so much energy in that situation.
Oh god, it's great, right?
He's the guy who was dying, who didn't know what video games were, who was putting on the best performance.
100%.
Raul Julia, what a legend. I'm so mad that he did like a real serious movie before he died.
Yeah. Like, that's
there was some movie he did, like, I think it's like Tears of a Son or something, that actually got awards, and that it was like released after he died. But he recorded Street Fighter last, but Street Fighter came out early because obviously they farted that out. And it's like, I'd rather Street Fighter be his legacy. It seems more reflective of who he was as a person.
It's one of those things, right, of like that time that I mentioned that technically Robin Williams' like last credit is him playing the talking dog in that like weird Simon Pegg Wish alien movie.
Yeah.
I can't even remember the name of it, but just like, yeah, I mentioned obviously we're doing the Robin Williams vote this month, and like, of all movies, like, oh, was it a good one? It's like he played a talking dog in some 7 out of 10 ass movie. Completely forgettable. It's like, I guess that's like Robin Williams' like lasting legacy. It's not, of course. It's their fantastic roles that we're going to continue to talk about.
Which we'll talk about, presumably next week. But specifically, the role that we're going to talk about will be informed by you, our audience.
Oh damn, yeah! But going back to
this Kong, this gorilla of ginormous proportions.
The thriller gorilla is a powerful and carefree Kong. Lives in Donkey Kong Island, and he likes to collect bananas and spend time with friends. Particularly his best friend and sidekick, Diddy Kong.
That is a rough one, right? Is it? Well, the worst bit is that, like, the colloquial nickname for Diddy Kong in Smash Bros is just you call him Diddy.
Yeah.
And then the stuff with P Diddy happened. But then one of the people who was best known for maining Diddy Kong in Smash Ultimate or Smash 4, remember, got outed as a sex predator. And
also bear in mind, the P Diddy stuff came out not long after the Luigi Mangione stuff. Two of Nintendo's most famous side characters, Luigi and Diddy, were in the news for just like the worst of crimes.
Did you see as well? Like, people will go in, like, obviously they flock straight to like Nintendo World to buy Luigi merch, and it was all taken off the shelves.
I can't wait for just somebody called Metroid to commit mass murder next. Just dear God.
I feel bad for the character.
I feel bad for like the marketing people, right? I also feel bad for people working in the stores. For what? Sorry.
The people working the stores, like someone earning minimum wage working in Nintendo World doesn't need to fucking deal with some weirdo going and try to buy Luigi merch. It's like when people work in Disneyland, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you hear the stories from like the Disney adults who go in and just act like really, really aggressively, like try and take control of like experience rides, because obviously they've been on it that many times, and you have like, cause obviously in Disneyland you're not allowed to yell. You know, the customer's always right. You have to like be really, really like through gritted teeth. Can you sit down, sir? There's an experience that's catered for everybody.
Or like you see the Disney princesses who aren't allowed to break character talk about the times where like men will just queue up to hit on them and stuff, and they're like, they've got to still be in character and be like, get away from me. And obviously that there is like security teams there that if they feel actually genuinely threatened that they can call upon, but they rarely do, because again they don't want to break.
Right?
No, it's actual security.
Oh no, but that'd be so good though, right? If they're dressed like the
those are the ones that I'd love to be able to play, because you see all of the ones where like there's a viral video that went around about Gaston where some guy was just being like this really toxic masculine guy in the queue, so Gaston just calls him the fuck out and he's like, go on then, do more press ups than me. And it's like, go, absolutely it. Like if you're playing a villain, you can lean into it, right?
You can a bit. You can use that power. So people talk about like when you're wearing the costume.
Yeah.
You can like they'll talk about how like they'll just ignore people. Like when I saw like Chewbacca when I went to Galaxy's Edge, and some guy was like a drunken dickhead, like stumbling around, like making fun of all stormtroopers. He went for a high five with Chewbacca, and Chewbacca did the up high, down low, and missed him out. And everyone just started laughing at that guy. And that's like, you're not gonna like still walk around like Billy Big Balls when we've all just saw Chewbacca like up high, too slow, yeah.
Yeah, and same with the stormtroopers. You can lean into being like the evil people of like, hey, calm the fuck down, get in line, shut the fuck up, kind of thing. Of like, they are patrolling the area and telling you to sit the fuck down. Whereas when you're playing like a Disney princess and you've got to be in that kind of state of being kind and pleasant to everybody, is way more difficult and you're way more pressure.
I do question the logic of the man who's like, here's a woman who loses her job if she tells me to fuck off, I'm gonna go hit on her.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me that going around to Super Nintendo World that they don't have mascots walking around, but it would be fantastic if someone was just there in a Donkey Kong outfit. No, as a Donkey Kong, just beating the shit out of people that stepped out.
You'd be the bouncer, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just squaring up to people in the big Donkey Kong mask outfit, like, no. Oh.
And they're the people I really feel bad for. It's like when there's like a meme or something, and it's just like the underpaid workers who don't know what the meme is, and it's like, why am I doing like the McDonald's workers who want to do like the Szechuan sauce thing, right?
Or like the cinema workers that are currently dealing with like the chicken jockey from Minecraft and shit, of like the meme of every 12-year-old's going to scream and throw everything, like every bit of popcorn, drink, fucking item of clothing they've got across the cinema screen, like, yeah, cool. I get it.
Do you see as well, the director as well was like low key, just being like, yeah, it's really great to see people's enthusiasm. And it's like, you fucking arsehole.
Well, of course the production
He's not got to clean it up.
The production side are going to be like, hey, if we lean into this, more people are going to catch on and go watch the movie.
Again, we don't have to clean it up.
Yeah, we don't give a shit. And they literally have like lists of timings of when chicken jockey's gonna happen on screen, so afterwards they can send people in to go clean up and stuff. It's like,
I hope they get paid more. I am like fully supportive of that like campaign of, if you work in customer service, you can fight one customer per month.
Oh, like the free slap, right?
No, you could fight them. You could physically take them out into the car park and beat the crap out of them.
Honestly, I would love it. Not to get into details, but like I recently had to like sign a witness statement for someone claiming that like they'd been assaulted inside a restaurant, and it's like, it's on CCTV, but like this person just walked into another person in our store and claims that they've been assaulted by them, and it's like, you know, multiple of us saw it, the CCTV saw it. It's a nothing case, but like, just dealing with that kind of shit is like, we just don't get paid enough, right?
It's just, so you know, you're on camera, right? Yes. Do you still want to continue with this? Because you will get in trouble for wasting police time. Yes. Again, what is the logic there? Is it just, is there, it's the kind of person, right, who just cannot accept any sort of criticism about themselves, right? That reminds me a little bit of like back in the day, where I literally had people follow me online for years after a single negative interaction that was entirely from their perspective of me just saying like, please leave me alone. And that was enough for them to like harass me for years.
I mean, I know both of us are a bit awkward when that kind of shit happens in the public, right? And just generally all that happens is someone recognizes like you or us in public and we go,
Well, it's never happened in public,
nice
that's
to
the
meet
thing to
you.
point out.
Like, no
one in public has ever done it.
No one in public has done it, but they could. But like, generally, it's just a nice to meet you. Like, yeah, if you want to take a picture or whatever, cool. Like, can we get back to our days? Like, it's generally just a bit like, oh, we're a little bit awkward and not very rude, and just yeah, like the people that take that as just. And obviously, as you say, no one in public has done it to us specifically, but that's the kind of interaction where some people would be like, God, they were so rude. Yeah. All they did was say hello and took a picture with us and then wanted to get back on with their lives.
Like, you hear about it a lot, right? There's stories told by, you mentioned Robin Williams. There's like one of those like, Joe's like all-time backfires. Some guys like, what's the worst celebrity encounter you ever had? Because mine was with Robin Williams, where he was there with his kids, and I walked over and asked him for a photograph, and he took the photograph, but then he wouldn't talk to me about his movies, and I found that really rude. And it's like, dude, he was with his fucking kids, and he still stopped and took the photograph, but he just didn't want to.
Yeah.
Anyway, tell me more about Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong will stop for a photo.
The Donkey Kong Country series establishes that Donkey Kong is something of a title rather than a singular character. And as I say, I just like to believe that it is more just because it just seems to be the family lineage. It just seems to be like Donkey Kong the second, the third, etc.
It's just like, you know, you become Donkey Kong and that little curl appears on your head. And you know.
But Donkey Kong Jr. had it, and it does say here at least 2 separate Kongs have bore the title or name, whatever, which includes Cranky Kong and the current Donkey Kong. After the 1994 Game Boy game Donkey Kong, Cranky Kong retired the usage of the name, passing it on to his grandson to use in Donkey Kong Country and onward.
Which would suggest, as you said, there's a middle Kong.
There is Donkey Kong Jr. that is like in the Donkey Kong Jr. 1, 2, and 3, and
so Donkey Kong Jr. is Donkey Kong's dad.
Donkey Kong Jr. is current Donkey Kong's dad, but as far as we're aware, the like lineage of you are the current Donkey Kong never got passed on to Donkey Kong Jr., who is, I guess now, like there's Cranky Kong, Donkey Kong Jr., and Donkey Kong.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, that's like rough. That's like in The Office, isn't it, with Andy? Where it's like, oh yeah, his older brother is called like, oh, his younger brother is like his dad's name, Junior. It's like, that was my name initially, but my dad thought I didn't earn it, so he called me Andy and gave it to my brother. He
stripped my name away, called me Andrew years after I was born, and gave his junior title to my younger brother. It's like, you're the first 3 years on your planet, you had not proven your worthiness. I'm stripping your title away from you, son.
The thing is, though, there is a lot in a name. It's why like I get incredibly frustrated with people like don't spell my name correctly. I think like saying someone's name, spelling someone's name correctly is the absolute bare minimum you can do. But there is a lot of like, I don't know if it's like unspoken. Well, I guess it kind of is if you're writing it down. But just it's the single most basic way to just like address someone. You address someone the way they want to be addressed, and not doing that immediately just puts me on the defensive, like, oh really?
Yeah, and I still have this conversation with like a lot of my family members and stuff like to this day, and I know that they don't mean offense by it, but the fact that I just go by a nickname nowadays and have done for over half of my life of Lucas, like a lot of them just like, but I used to call you Luke, so I'm going to call you Luke. Right?
But that's not what I like being called.
But that's not my preference, and I'm clearly communicating that to you, and you don't want to like take that small bit of effort out of your life to like just change the way that you mention me. Like, okay, like sure, I know none of them think anything of it because they just think, well, I'm not calling you by your nickname, but like that's something that I have specifically asked people to do, and half of the people in my life have never taken that on board or taking the time to learn.
It's a very basic thing, but it speaks to, I'm not going to say anything negative, but like a flaw in someone's character.
It is a bit of disrespect towards me, and I still see that to that day. And like, I know that they don't mean offense by it, but like, it is one of those of like, okay, I did ask you to do that though, and like, it does feel a little bit like, okay, why could you not do one simple request?
Yeah.
And like I say, there's a lot of importance in a name, and just to
especially
like
a chosen name.
Respect, like go by a chosen name is just a little thing that you can do for somebody, right?
Yeah, because it speaks to someone's character.
Yeah,
it's like refusing to shake someone's hand.
Yeah, maybe like
that's the big one for me. Of like refusing to shake someone's hand. Like it's one of those traditional things that I absolutely hold to this. If you shake someone's hand and you do not follow through on the thing you shook hands on, you are a piece of shit. Unless you have like a really good reason not for.
However,
that's why like every deal I have. Like remember Lucas, me and you with Wiki Weekends, it's a handshake deal.
I do nowadays.
I trust you to hold to that.
Yeah, no, totally. I stand by more like, you know, the idea of like standing by your word necessarily than handshake, because I don't know. There's something about COVID that changed my mentality around a handshake.
A handshake deal is it's like I'm using it as a
metaphorical handshake deal. I know that's what you mean, but the idea of somebody being pissed that I specifically won't shake their hands when I know they haven't washed their hands in the toilet, that's a different fucking idea, right?
I more mean like if you say to someone like, okay, is this how it's going to be? And you shake someone's hand on that thing and they look you in the eye and go back on it.
Yeah. No, yeah, I 100% what you mean. It's like similar to like staying by your word, right? And I will say that, you know, I do know that I might be like seemingly slagging off my family. I know that I haven't actually ever communicated like what that means to me to my family. They've just seen it as like, what's her nickname? Like, what's the difference? And like, I haven't communicated that maybe I give more of a shit than that. So it's also a bit on both sides, but like, still, I still stand that I'm in the right on that point of like, they could just spare you the smallest amount of give, right?
It's your name.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's one of those wild things. But Karl will get back to Donkey Kong themselves and just
tell me about the Thriller Gorilla.
Well, I don't. There's a lot, right? Because there's a lot in a Mario
the deep
because
Kong
it goes through the deep Kong. But I more just want to get a vibe from you. Like, I'm not particularly, as mentioned, like a big Donkey Kong series player. I'm excited for Donkey Kong Bonanza to come out. I think it looks like an exciting like change in the series, and we haven't really had much of an evolution other than like Donkey Kong Country 64, which was received really poorly. No one really played. They haven't even put on Nintendo Switch Online. Maybe for like the shame, I don't know. But I really like Donkey Kong from the perspective of a person who plays a lot of Smash.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of personality in that gorilla, and I think like his status as one of like Nintendo's big three, like it's Link, it's Mario, it's Donkey Kong. You can maybe say it's Mario and Peach, it's Link and Zelda, it's Donkey Kong and Diddy. See, but I think he's part of like the triumvirate of Nintendo's like.
There's a fascinating thing that I saw recently, very recently, within like the last week, where it was like on I think it was like the new Nintendo store, maybe in San Francisco or something. They had the billboard, or not a billboard, like but like a big spread on the side of the building or whatever. And I think the main five, as far as Nintendo are concerned, is Mario, Zelda, well, the Mario series, the Zelda series, the Animal Crossing series, the Pikmin series, and the Splatoon series.
Okay.
And that's...
I think Splatoon, those can all be up there in the top 5, but I still think just legacy-wise, you've got to get Donkey Kong, right?
I think
the first game they made. Or you said it was the first game.
The first big Nintendo game, and like I do think that they are clearly trying to get the popularity of Donkey Kong back, because Donkey Kong was big in the 80s, Donkey Kong was huge in the 90s, Donkey Kong
He's still got it.
Like in Donkey Kong Country was fucking massive. Like absolutely, like I think bigger than Zelda, kind of massive. Like that's how big that franchise was when Donkey Kong Country was around, and I think them leaning into the second area of Super Nintendo World coming out is Donkey Kong. Like the secondary character they focused on in the Super Mario Bros. Movie was Donkey Kong. Like I think they are trying to reform that character and bring him back into the spotlight. I think
he's just a naturally very marketable character.
He is.
It's so iconic, but it's so simple. It's a gorilla wearing a necktie.
Done really
He loves bananas.
Like, absolutely done dirty for the past, like, 20 years in terms of 2 Donkey Kong Country games that kind of didn't get marketed very well. They didn't make a big deal out of. They just kind of came and went. And they were excellent games. But, like, the tragedy or excellence of the TV show that came out in, like, the 90s, right?
The thing is, though, truly every frame is a painting in that show, right? People always single out when just like, again, our friend, where he's have like the meme picture where for a while his picture was just the Donkey Kong sat looking out into the distance and like all forlorn, and you just see his little perfectly defined Donkey Kong butt.
God, yeah.
Right?
He's been working those glutes.
He has. He's fucking running. He hauls ass. That's the thing about Donkey Kong I love. Like you mentioned, Smash Bros. My favorite characters in that game are the ones who have like really satisfying momentum.
That's why
they have a really nice kinetic feel to their movement. He's snappy, like Captain Falcon hauls ass.
Like
Donkey Kong, he's bulky, but he moves.
I love the change that they made from Bowser. Like I love the little roller coaster sprint he had, where just but the change they had to like just sprinting full speed, and you see like doof, 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 doof,
fun fact as well. Like Bowser has one of the highest sprint speeds in the game. There's like 12 characters out of like 60 faster than he is, and he's like also the heaviest.
Yeah.
And he's just like the amount of ass that Bowser hole. And that's the thing, like Donkey Kong similarly feels really good when his movement feels really satisfying.
Exactly, yeah, and that's one thing that I love the look of with Donkey Kong Bonanza coming out. Of like, oh my god, the first trailer when it just showed how smooth his gameplay was, like how much he just fucking sprints and just climbs things.
That gorilla be fucking schmooving, right? Like you can
schmooving, and it looks so fluid and good to just like sprint, launch up a wall, beat the shit out of things. Like, I'm so excited for that, if nothing else.
I can't wait for the combo videos or the Congo videos. That's the thing. So you mentioned Donkey Konga.
Oh,
he will forever be iconic because that controller input of just 2 bongos. So you used to play Dark Souls.
I don't know if I've mentioned it on this before, but Donkey Konga, I think 2. But either way, Donkey Konga, the mention of it, still does give me like slight PTSD from bear with me, English lessons in high school.
Did you play a lot Donkey Kong?
No. So I did a presentation where we had to take a piece of like we had to take a poster and do a breakdown on like a poster of like, you know, all the different materials within it, what like the significance of it was. And for whatever reason, I don't know why, because I was just an awkward child in high school, I got to the end of the points that I remembered talking about this poster, and I didn't ask for questions, I didn't say I was done, I just kind of stood still with everyone in the class looking at me, as I just didn't have any more points to make. And I just stood there in silence, panicking.
I will move.
No, but I was panicking. I was actively, visibly panicking.
You were panicking Skywalker.
And I just stood there.
Also, someone asked earlier, can they nick your intro? Guys, gals, non-binary pals. They can nick that. Panicking Skywalker's mine.
Oh, totally nick
that. You credit me for panicking Skywalker, because I love that.
I absolutely missed that, and I did nick it from like other several content creators, so like absolutely go for it. I'd noticed a couple of other content creators doing it and said at some point I should remember to incorporate that into my intro.
Yeah, well, panicking Skywalker's mine. I came up with that.
I keep using it in everyday life.
It's
people
great,
laugh
right?
every time I say it.
People always giggle when they call him panicking Skywalker.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I must have stood silently in absolute panic for what felt like a lifetime, but was probably about a solid minute before my teacher said, "You can just say that you're done and sit down." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm done." Yeah.
What's that got to do with Donkey Kong
Just
bongo
because
slapping?
I was doing the presentation on a Donkey Konga poster.
Oh, okay, you didn't mention that.
Yeah, no, yeah. Again, I get panicked about this moment in time, Carl.
Okay.
I panic. I literally was doing the presentation on like, here's what like the Donkey Konga poster means. Here's what they're trying to market. Here's what the representation of like the things on the poster means and stuff. And then when I was done, I was just like, and then yeah, that's all.
We should end this video like that. Let's end this video by doing that. Oddly as well, speaking of English class, that does segue quite nicely into what I picked for today.
Well, I guess we can talk about that in a moment, but I guess we can take a quick break. Let me go to the toilet, and then.
Does that mean we're gonna have a giant His Highness on screen?
A giant His Highness on screen, indeed.
He's going to be getting large and or in charge.
But yeah, I'm just super excited to talk about more Nintendo stuff, and I'm just gonna keep talking about Nintendo stuff until like the Switch 2 comes out, and you can't stop me.
Yep.
But yeah,
No stopping.
Time to go to break. Let's get.
We'll be back
dinosaur.
momentarily.
Should be back, I believe.
Hell yeah.
Oh damn it. Any housekeeping that we need to do?
There is on my end, yes. So as of recently, one of the projects I've been working on behind the scenes is I've been like scripting for Today I Found Out again because it pays well and I can write about whatever I want. But more recently, Davin, the owner of Today I Found Out, has invited me onto the Brain Food podcast.
Oh, cool.
I'll be occasionally guesting over there on another podcast. So if you just go onto YouTube and type in Brain Food Today I Found Out or something like that, you'll find me. So I'll be occasionally guest appearing in that, as well as if you keep an eye on that channel, you'll also see new scripts going up written by myself. Even though I've already written so many for them, they've still got ones from 5 years ago to edit.
I can't believe that you would portray our podcast like this. No joke.
Well, like everyone who has a podcast, I'm on multiple podcasts.
Well, you know, speaking of which, we're currently doing our best to try and find a guest for June, right? Of like, we currently haven't got a guest lined up for our June podcast.
There's a few people in the timeline, but like schedules and stuff are like content creators are real fucking busy.
That's it, and like the people I've reached out to, I'm either waiting on them to get back or maybe have just ghosted me. I'm not sure, but
well, just what you do, you send a follow-up email of like, all right, dickhead, what's going on?
But yeah, just it's one of those of like, we're doing our best to make sure that we get one out every month. It might not be at the start of the month. It might not happen every month, but maybe we'll, you know, try and make up for it with an extra guest podcast online if we can't make it happen.
Well, there'll be content, trust us.
There'll be content regardless. We just can't promise that there'll be a guest time because it relies on us being able to acquire guests
and scheduling.
Mm-hmm.
Like scheduling is, you know, it's its own like bear.
Yeah, there's not just getting people interested in appearing; it's also scheduling them to appear. So we're doing our best. Trust us. Like we do intend to average a guest on every month. If we need to make up for it, like down the line, we intend to as well.
I still think like just if we run out, we should just. Oh, we're still waiting on to get someone. Just bring one of our mums in. Oh
no!
I think that'd be fun. I want to talk to Luke's mum.
Honestly, I can tell you right now. I don't.
Let us know. Should we bring our mums on?
No, I'm not entertaining that because I know that my mum would think that she's the most entertaining person on planet Earth and take over the conversation.
Oh, nice one. Get a nice glass of wine.
Oh no,
Mrs. Lucas.
This is giving me just like pre-PTSD. Pre-TSD. God.
I think that'll be a fun one.
God.
Get parents on.
Couldn't do it.
How about I'll get my dad, the most Yorkshire man in the world.
See that. Your dad seems chill as fuck. Your dad seems like he wouldn't try to make an effort, which is exactly what I want. Like, I think your dad would be like, why the fuck am I here? Not, I'm going to act up to camera.
He calls me every weekend. I'll talk to him, ask if he wants to be a guest on an episode.
Yeah.
I bet he says no.
That's the thing. I bet your dad would just be like, "No, I'm alright, son."
Alright, son. My mum will be up for it, though.
My mum would be too up for it. My mum would
Anyway.
remind me of, like, me trying to learn how to
she'd be telling, like,
10 years
childhood
ago.
stories and everything, right?
God, yeah, probably worse, but yes. Yeah, I do have a bit of housekeeping to mention myself as well.
Do it.
Obviously, first of all, I've mentioned multiple times the Switch 2 is coming out. I have mine on pre-order. I intend to get it on launch day. So
you haven't got yours on pre-order, right? You got like 15 of them.
Only
you told me you're opening up like an eBay store, right, and sell them for like $3 price.
No, yeah. I have 2 on order. One for me, one for a friend. And then I also
is that a friend called eBay?
Don't tell people.
Sell it for twice the price, then you've got
your money back, right? I do keep on because I signed up for like every different vendor, right, to give me email updates. I probably could have gotten away with like pre-ordering about 5 and selling them off, but no, I got one.
You want to be that guy, right?
One for me, one for a close friend who has paid me the exact amount for it. But yeah, I should
not even like a quid.
No
delivery.
No, I think technically they may have paid me like £1 under between that and the GameCube controller pre-ordered for them, which again, that was not me being pissy. I'm giving them the most fair price possible.
Yeah, £1 between friends is nothing, right?
It's nothing, yeah. But yeah, so that should arrive on like Thursday the 5th at some point within the day, which I do intend to use a little bit of time to just getting out a few videos. I'm just explaining, here's some Switch 1 games that don't run well on Switch 1. Here's how they run on Switch 2 to try.
Is it going to be like an all-day thing, you think, then?
No, not on the Thursday, because I don't see myself getting that until the middle of the day, right?
I mean, you're going to be like an all-day thing of like just going to set up and walk through all the stuff that you've
got. I'm going to download games, update my system, stuff like that.
Talk about your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think the first day will mostly be doing that stuff, and then maybe doing a Mario Kart stream afterwards. However, the 6th, 7th, and 8th of May, I have time booked off to ostensibly be just like live playing a bunch of different games, mostly Mario Kart World, but then a bunch of other Switch 1 games with like Switch 2 updates. If people want to come in and, you know, give me a sub to like try out a game that they want to see running on a Switch 2, I've got most of like the first party Nintendo catalog, or a large portion of it. So it's just going to be like a few days where I'm going to be live on my Twitch for a large period of time and just testing out a bunch of different shit on the Switch 2 and showing the stuff off.
It's a good plan.
And having fun with that. And then just another thing I'd like to, you know, shout out / housekeep. Just if you need to, just a reminder that going to your doctors is always a good thing, because I mentioned the other day that I had like sunburn.
Okay.
And then I ended up with like a rash on my arms and stuff. And it took me a couple of weeks because, like, you know, booking appointments in the NHS right now is like pretty hard. But immediately the moment I got a rash, I was like, I'm going to go see a doctor. And now I've got like some antibiotics and stuff. And I'm not being stubborn about going to see a doctor. It's immediately clearing up. And I'm like, just a reminder out there to everyone that, hey, I automatically feel better the moment I've got like some prescription of medicine, and just go see a doctor straight away. Don't let
problems fester.
Yeah, don't let it stew, don't let it fester. Just, it was something that was stressing me out for like a couple of weeks. I was trying to get an appointment. Immediately things are getting better. Just a reminder to just don't be a stubborn dickhead and not go see a doctor. Just go as soon as you can, right?
It's free.
Well, unless
you're in America, in which case, just, you know what? Just hope for the best. Cross those fingers and hope.
But like, yeah, you can see I had like a little bit of rash spreading there and stuff, and like on my arms, and just, hey, I immediately, the moment I started taking some antibiotics and stuff, it's just getting better, and like, it's always worth a shout of like, I know how many people just think like, I don't need to go see a doctor, it'll be fine. It's like just a little reminder.
It's the same thing as well. Like sometimes I'm just sat here, I'm reminded of like, okay, stretch, roll your shoulders back, sit up straight, deep breath, work on your posture.
Just, I know there's probably a lot of people like rolling their eyes at me right now, but there's also someone out there that has been putting off going to a doctor and getting an appointment, and I'm just like, please, just go. So I've been there, I've done that, I've put it off, and it's just not good. But yeah, anyway, Carl, moving on.
Yes.
We have your wiki to talk to. So what have you brought for us this week?
Okay, so something I've been doing like since the start of the year is rereading books that I read in school to
Harry
see
Potter.
if, as an adult, I can see anything new or different in them, or like just to check, like, does my brain still work? You'll see the posts online, right? Of like, this can't be the same brain that would read like an entire book in a weekend. That now can't like write an email. And I write for a living, so I don't think my ability to write has been impeded.
Yeah.
Because I read so much for my job. For example, like when I write a script that's like ends up being like 5,000-6,000 words long. For that, I'm gonna have to read through multiple books, articles, sources. Obviously, I skim read and have to section out what I read, but it might be like an entire chapter of a book here, an article here, an interview there, a YouTube video here, what's the word now?
Well, I was just gonna say, I know that you probably like skimmed over or maybe didn't hear me joke that you're rereading Harry Potter. Of course.
No.
Solid statement. Go fuck J.K. Rowling.
Yes, but the book I have reread is there's a couple. I reread like War of the Worlds because I wanted to reread that. I reread Dr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde. I reread this one I read for pleasure when I was younger. I reread Final Fantasy Spirits Within the novelization.
Oh my god, no!
But we can't do an episode on that because I want to put clips in. I want to watch the movie, compare.
If you need to tell me if we're gonna do,
we can both watch
Within,
it.
Because I need to rewatch that one.
Okay, in which case, like, just let us know if you want to see us do that. I do have the novelization of a lot of like bad books, so my bookshelf looks hilarious because you like say, okay, like here's like all of Sherlock Holmes, here's some Goosebumps books, here's the novelization of like Alien 3, here's like some like Penguin classics, like you've got your.
I want a novelization of Street Fighter, the movie, the game. That's what I want, a novelization.
If it exists, I'll find it and I'll buy it. But the book that I reread and just finished reading as of like an hour ago is Frankenstein. AKA, do you know what the alternate name is for Frankenstein, Lucas? Let's test how much attention you paid in English lit.
I never actually studied Frankenstein, so I'm not sure. I guess like
pub quiz classic. Folks at home, can anyone say it? Frankenstein or?
I can't see that there because you're so blurry. But my first guess would just be Frankenstein's monster.
It's Frankenstein or the modern Prometheus.
The modern Prometheus.
Yes, that's the full name to the book.
Wow. Okay, because obviously, like, there's the pub quiz of like, what is the monster in Frankenstein called, and it's Frankenstein's monster, not the
alternately
not
the demon, the ogre, simply just the creature. The creature does refer to itself as a monster in several sections, but yeah, it's a. You know what? That's the thing. Like, let's get into that right now. Then is Frankenstein's monster, right? But I think the name calling Frankenstein's monster, calling it Frankenstein, works because he created it, and that's his name.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see it as being canonically correct. However, I do see it as language evolving, and Frankenstein, when people refer to Frankenstein, 99% of the pop culture, like, references to it mean Frankenstein's monster, and it's a short.
They think of the monster. And then there's also the classic like smarmy quote, right, of like, ooh, knowledge is knowing that Frankenstein isn't the monster. Wisdom is knowing that he is. It's like, it's not really, because he's an arsehole from second one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
he's a complete piece of shit throughout the entire book.
Also knowing that, like, who is the actual monster of the story? Yeah, it's Dr. Frankenstein, not the creature.
Yes, and that's really obvious, because I was rereading it, like, how obvious is it that Frankenstein, the Doctor, is the villain? Second one. Well, he's a piece of shit throughout the entire thing.
That's the difference, is when people use the terminology monster, they are referring to the creature. And
which gets complicated.
It gets complicated, but it's people using purposefully confusing language if they want to be arseholish about it. The real way that you would ask that question is, who is the villain within that story, right?
Yes, because it's like, Joey, like when you talk about Frankenstein, would you mean Frankenstein's monster? It's like, you know what I meant, and you're only saying that so you sound smart, but you don't sound smart because we all read this in high school.
Yeah, and again,
or at least I did.
If people will go, well, who's the true monster in Frankenstein? It's like, well, what you mean is, who's the villain? And the villain is Dr. Frankenstein. The creature is just something that is abhorrent, that is born out of, no fault of their own.
Well, let's get into that now. So the wiki I've chosen is for the villain's wiki, and it is on Frankenstein's monster. And we have the most famous quote of Frankenstein's monster here: "If I cannot inspire love, I will cause fear."
Yeah.
And we have the numerous aliases of the creature here. And this is going to be broad. So this wiki, I double checked it before going live, is a summation of all the different Frankenstein's monster appearances. It's focused largely on the Mary Shelley version, but it includes references to other adaptations because it's now this seminal piece of pop culture.
I mean, they're part of the dark universe, Karl.
It was indeed, yes. Even though I don't think they made a Frankenstein.
No, they got as far as the Mummy and gave up.
I still think one of my finest jokes that I wrote is when they were going to cast. They cast Russell Crowe, not as Dr. Jekyll. And Mr. Hyde, perfect, an actor known for just being a raging asshole who just has anger control issues and is multiple on set screaming matches with people.
Russell Crowe's the one from Gladiator, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely many situations where they've just been apparently a massive asshole on set.
Yeah, but we have the various aliases of the creature because its full name is unknown. I don't think it's unknown, it's just it doesn't have a name. The creature does not have a name and that's one of the things it talks about. I was rejected by humanity to the point. What do I even call myself?
Yeah, because the Doctor doesn't care enough about them to even give them a name, right?
Yeah. So it's not unknown. That's a mistake here, Wiki. It's just
unnamed.
It has none.
Yeah.
Unnamed. So the aliases include the creature, the monster, Frankenstein's monster, the Frankenstein, which is general pop culture. Frankie, Caliban, Frankie, Wretch, Devil, Demon, Beast, Fiend, Adam, in reference to the biblical Adam, enemy being it, ogre, spawn, thing, spectre.
And Adam referring to Adam and Eve, Adam, the first human?
Yes. Yeah, because it sees itself as the precursor to a new race.
Hmm.
And one of the things that's again, Dr. Frankenstein, huge piece of shit. But the creature tracks him down. And one of my favourite sections of the book is from the creature's perspective. That's what I remember so vividly from school. I remember when I read it in school really liking the perspective of the creature.
Okay, because
when you're reading it,
as mentioned, that was not either it was an optional part of my syllabus or it wasn't part of my syllabus because obviously different schools use different syllabi and
yes,
yeah, I didn't study or read Frankenstein, so I'm curious as to what the motivation behind the Doctor was.
Well, his motivation is really weird because he talks about how he was obsessed with alchemy as a child and these new realms of science, to a child's mind, seem possible, right? Because science is basically magic, and he talks about how as he got older, when he talks about he met academics and stuff, reading, I can't pronounce it. It's Parcellus or something like that. Some dude who tried to invent alchemy, and all these academics you're a fucking idiot. That's not science.
Right.
And he becomes obsessed with the idea that it is science. There's something there, and he eventually, through unknown means, it never clarifies what, he somehow is able to create life out of inanimate objects. And he talks about how he spent weeks, months, years cobbling together this unholy abomination of corpses into the monster. And then he infused it with life. And the instant he opens his eyes, he immediately is oh fuck, and just runs away. The second it opens its eyes, he realizes his mistake and runs away.
Right, okay.
But my favorite part of the book, and the bit that I found myself rereading, is just from the creature's perspective, where he talks about how, I woke up in agony, opened my eyes, like a baby, reached for the first thing that I saw, and it ran away.
Yeah. So, from the Doctor's perspective, it was mostly a project of humor. Right?
Yeah, it's ego.
Yeah, sure.
And what's really frustrating reading the book, especially when you know the ending, because it's so famous, is I'm reading through the book and you hear it from the creature's perspective and you feel so bad for it. So it talks about how, I stumbled out completely blind, unable to talk, communicate, ran into the woods, the first person that I bumped into tried to kill me. They all tried to set me on fire. I went and hid in a fucking hovel and ate berries and dirt, and then I spent like months listening through a peephole into a cottage and learned language on my own, and just spent months working up the courage to go talk to the people in the cottage because they basically raised me without knowing it. And he walks in, and second one, they all immediately go, "Oh no!" and run away and try and attack him.
So I know that the mob tried to attack Frankenstein's monster.
It's not a mob, but that's what they do in the films. In the books, it's more subtle.
Okay, yeah, sure. And again,
the thing like being chased by the villagers with pitchforks and stuff it doesn't happen in the books that way.
This is where my understanding of it through like pop culture osmosis differs from the actual text, and why I'm curious, because like I don't know what actually for sure happens at the end of that book.
Well, one of the things that's a lot of there's some specific moments from the films that generally, so there's a few moments in the book that generally always make it into adaptations. And sometimes it's like a bit more exaggerated. Like, for example, Dr. Frankenstein's like, "It's alive." He's immediately repulsed by his creation the second it opens its eyes. Another one is the creature saving a young girl. In some versions, the girl is saved completely. In other versions, she's dead. And it's assumed that the creature killed her. And it's attacked by villagers. That happens in the book.
So, like, the idea is that they intend to save someone. They essentially got caught red-handed with a corpse, but they weren't trying to kill them.
Or someone who's injured, someone. And just they make an assumption based on its appearance that it was trying to hurt her because it looks like a monster. But the part of the book that's like never really makes it into adaptations is just the huge section from the creature's perspective where it talks about experiencing the world for the first time. And it's fascinating. It's so sad. And you get to the end of it and it sits there with Frankenstein. It tells him, "Look, you've heard my story. You've heard how shit my life is. I'm completely alone. There is nothing out there. Build me a mate.
Right.
Make another one of me, and I'll fuck off into the woods, and you will never see me again." And Frankenstein's like, "Okay, I'll do that." Promises the creature will do it, like going back to the handshake thing. Goes all the way to like fucks off to Scotland. That's the other thing as well. Like, there's some Game of Thrones ass teleporting in this book.
Right. Okay.
Well, like they'll talk about how I'm in Scotland now.
All right.
Because the plot demands that he gets there. Then he gets all the way there, gets halfway through somehow on a uninhabited island, somehow cobbles together halfway through making the Bride of Frankenstein, and then just realizes, what am I doing? Tears it apart in front of the creature who's watching him through a window. And then the creature gets mad and goes and kills his best mate, and Frankenstein's like, "Why would the creature do this?"
Because he betrayed him.
Do you know who shot Hannibal?
Yeah.
Like, he makes the creature a promise that I'll build you a bride so you won't be alone in this world. And the creature says, "If I'm going to be alone, I'm going to go fucking insane and start killing people. Because what else am I going to do? I can't go anywhere without being attacked.
Please, just give me one other being to, like, feel company from."
Yeah. Like, that's why sometimes, like, he's referred to as Adam. He's like, even Adam had Eve. God saw to it that he had a partner because he realized that man cannot exist alone. At least give me that. Like, you brought me into this world and you shunned me. The least you owe me is companionship. If you can't provide it, create something that can. You can. And like the entire book is just Frankenstein being like trying to kill the fucking thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kills a couple people, but at the same time, it's basically an animal for the first like half of its life, and the second half, it's just, yeah, fuck you for continually trying to set me on fire.
Yeah, and it's one of those of like the obvious thing, right? Of just let it have some, like, the ultimate part of the story is like the meaning behind it is just that everybody deserves to have somebody else, and that everyone deserves like a place that they belong.
Well, there's that, I forget what culture it comes from, but I think it's an African proverb. It's like the child who is shunned from the village will burn it down to feel warmth. Right. It talks about how, like, if you ostracize someone and don't make them feel welcome, you can't really complain or get angry when they attack you because you never made them feel, they don't feel welcome. So
ultimately, you made yourself the villain in that story, and that's what Frankenstein is doing, right?
So here, Frankenstein's monster, also known as Adam the Creature, the monster, and often erroneously called simply Frankenstein, I like referring to it as a Frankenstein. That's fun. Is the main antagonist of the classic Gothic horror novel Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus by Mary Shelley. He is an inhuman creature created by the scientist Dr. Victor Frankenstein through a scientific method that allowed him to create life from non-living matter, although he would turn out to be deformed and terrify his creator into abandoning him. And that's the thing. While he's creating the creature, he talks about how, like, I built it bigger than a person. It's going to be better than we are. It's bigger, it's stronger, and he admires its features in, like, that macabre way of, like, even though it's like created from like jutting bits of like disproportionate like human viscera, there's a beauty in it. The second he opens its eyes, like, fuck it, get rid. And that is something interesting now, because what for you is the when you hear Frankenstein's monster, what do you picture?
So there's probably like a few things that I picture, because I think the first thing that my brain jumps to is there is the character that I'm trying to remember the name of now, but the lady within Nightmare Before Christmas,
Okay,
who is the like woman who can, like, all of herself is like clearly
like
similarly built, like patchwork, like she sews all her pieces back onto herself and stuff,
which is like common, and that is generally depicted in the most adaptations. But the thing that's probably most surprising for people who are more familiar with like Frankenstein's monster from pop culture is the creature has like long hair.
right?
And they talk about it having like matted black hair that like hangs down past its shoulders.
Oh, past its shoulders, right? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. They also talk about how, because in most incarnations, like the Boris Karloff version, it's got the flat top, right?
Yeah, of course.
The bolsters. And then the other thing, like, it's usually depicted as being very tall. In the novel, it's about 8 feet tall. But also, in the novel, it's a fucking science. It speaks like a poet. Because its only introduction to language is just reading poetry, because that's the only way. And it taught itself to speak from poetry and like novels. So it's very eloquent.
Yeah, I guess like there's probably a couple of other things. Like there's a more recent one where like I was watching What We Do in the Shadows. Matt Berry's character is like obsessed with basically being a Dr. Frankenstein, and realizes that, oh hey, yeah, I have like loads of body parts hidden in like my little science lab in my basement that I just forgot about for 100 years. Let's go back to making a Frankenstein. And eventually succeeds, and then is immediately like, oh shit, I fucked up, similar to Frankenstein, right? But it's done in a very obviously like comedic sensibility with like Matt Berry just shit in the bed.
Yeah, I still think though Matt Berry should 100% be the next James Bond.
Really?
I think do you know when they say like, who should be the next James Bond? Matt Berry. Take it back to like the camp stuff. Do you know the camp James Bond from the 60s?
Yeah, like in a really strange sense, Matt Berry is probably one of the most charismatic Englishmen around, right?
Yep, I think he could be James Bond.
And it would be excellent to be like, it would have to take a more silly tone, obviously. With Matt
of course, yeah, take it back to the sillier tone.
But take it back to that sillier tone, and yeah, just Matt Berry just proving the point of you don't have to be like fucking 6-pack shredded Daniel Craig to be charismatic.
Yeah. But anyway, that's like besides the point. I just, whenever I hear his name, I always put his name forward. Like, I think he should be James Bond. But anyway, so the creature would turn out to be peaceful and intelligent, who only sought companionship. However, after being made an outcast and mistreated by humanity, he would become obsessed with getting revenge on his creator for his abandonment. And that is no better proven than by what the villain wiki refers to as its goals. So its goals are ingratiate itself into society and have a family. Failed. Force Dr. Frankenstein to make him a bride. Failed. Seek revenge on his creator. Succeeded, but regretted it.
And
so that's it. He never gets a win.
No.
At no point does the monster ever get a win.
And the one thing that kind of gives me hope in terms of the ones that I think maybe a little bit inspired by Frankenstein, or at least remind me of the story of Frankenstein, is from One Piece, the story of Chopper, where basically Chopper, I believe, is like a reindeer that has a different coloured nose, so gets outcast from Society of Reindeers.
I've heard this one before.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it starts, and then eats a human fruit, which turns them into a half human. And then they think, hey, I can go to the human village, and because I look more human-like, I can go find solace with the humans instead of my own. And they go to the human village, and they get rejected as well. And it's just that constant, like, no matter where I go, and no matter what I do to try and fit in with other people, I get rejected from every element of society, right?
Yep. There's only so long that can happen before you say, fuck it, piracy.
And then they find their people with Luffy and the Straw Hats, and that's the happy ending in regards to that moment, rather than going and seeking down your, like, quote-unquote creator and murdering them. Instead, you get a happy ending moment out of it. But that's one kind of story that always reminded me of the vibes of Frankenstein, of, like, going into the village and being like, hey, I know I look like a monster, but I just want to fit in with the people here, and I just, want to be friends. And everyone ostracizing them, and obviously similar to, like, Shrek, right? Of just, they try to go into town and just immediately...
It's very common, yeah. It's a trope that has been widely adapted and reused for whatever purpose is necessary.
It's a good
speaking
story.
of which, it is. It's a very good story. Since its creation in 1816, Frankenstein's monster has become recognised as one of the most tragic villains in fiction history, and a pivotal character in the horror genre. He's gone on to inspire countless adaptations in other media, although many have been known to downplay his intelligence and alter his appearance significantly. Because that's the thing. When people think Frankenstein, they think like basically a zombie.
Lurch.
That's it.
Right.
Like, there's an entire chapter of the book from his perspective, and it's really, really interesting. And you feel so fucking bad for it. It's like, hey, I just want to live. Stop setting me on fire.
Yeah, and mentioning One Piece, I think there is, like, actually a Frankenstein character in the horror island bit that they go to, but
no, there's always a Frankenstein.
There's always
monster,
a Frankenstein in ridiculous stories, right? Of just the classical bolts in the neck, like,
One thing that's, like, really... Do you like Creature Commandos? Like the James Gunn thing. So in Creature Commandos, they have, like, the Bride of Frankenstein character. And the backstory for Bride of Frankenstein actually is one of the few where it really delves into how much of a fucking arsehole Frankenstein the scientist is. Because it's like an alternate retelling where the creature manages to convince Frankenstein, build me a bride, but then Frankenstein becomes obsessed with the bride and starts dating the bride instead.
What Dr. Frankenstein does.
Dr. Frankenstein starts fucking the Bride of Frankenstein, the monster that he makes, and the creature's like, are you fucking kidding me?
He builds a sex doll for his creation, and then it's like, how about I use the sex doll?
I
don't, I obviously joking. But yeah, just, like, the idea of, like, can you make me one person in life, please? And he's like,
can I have one win?
I could give you this one win, or I could steal your one lady in life.
Yep. And there's been, like, numerous portrayals, like some of, like, the most notable include Boris Karloff, of course, and Christopher Lee. He's mostly known for playing Dracula, but he did play Frankenstein's monster in one adaptation.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, because I remembered them in Dracula, but yeah.
We have here, like, his personality. So since Frankenstein is such a famous tale, he's been adapted many times, and subsequently the creature has had many different takes on him over the years, both visually and in terms of personality. But many traits are fairly consistent. He is deeply dissatisfied and depressed about life in general, holds a grudge against his creator, and is generally afraid of humanity due to its judgmental prejudice against him based solely on his grotesque appearance. And that's the thing, I think a modern retelling of, like, Frankenstein, there'd be someone out there, I'll fuck the monster.
Oh, yeah.
There'd be 100% someone out there like, I'd fuck the monster.
Just put the monster on Craigslist and be like, let's go.
How big's his dick? He's 8 feet tall. Like, I think just the fact that the monster is 8 feet tall, someone's going to be into that.
Just get him an OnlyFans page. They'll make money.
Despite his terrifying zombie-like appearance, the creature harbours the same emotions as any other human, the same desires, love, friendship, and acceptance. Whenever he reaches out, he is faced with fear and aggression. He's rejected and driven away. His bitter loneliness manifests into a seething hatred for his creator. Despite this, he does not hate humanity, intentionally avoiding humans and only harming them in self-defense or in a bid to harm Frankenstein. So he kills, like, Frankenstein's brother, kills his I think he kills a bunch of people. He kills his best mate, kills his wife. And that's the thing about it as well. He's where Frankenstein is such a prick, where like there's this person, it's weird as well because his sister, his adoptive sister, is like hand-picked to be his bride when he's like 5 years old.
Oh,
This is a really weird undercurrent in the book, but I guess like it's a different time.
yeah.
And it talks about how like after like the creature has killed like his best mate, he goes back to his hometown. His dad's like, "Why don't you marry your sister? Wouldn't that be fun?" And he's like, his sister wife is like, "Hey, clearly something's fucking gone on. Can you tell me anything about it?" And Frankenstein's like, "No."
Oh.
He's like, "Are you going to tell me?" He's like, "No, wait till we get married." Keep in mind, the creature specifically tells Frankenstein, "I will be with you on your wedding night." It makes an explicit threat that the day you get married, I will kill your wife.
Right.
And Frankenstein still chooses to get married, does not tell his bride that there's a giant monster out there going to kill her. And the second they're married, day one, creature breaks in and snaps her neck.
God damn.
And I get it, that the creature did kill her, but it gave Frankenstein so much warning about it.
Yeah, no, I like that's the thing is like I get it, right? It's like the dude created you and took every bit of chance that you have of an actual life away immediately. And then
Well,
also gave you a second chance and took that away.
Well, the reason the creature does it as well is like it tells, you can read between the lines there, or Frankenstein's like, "What did I do to deserve this?" It's like, well, you denied the creature a bride, you denied it companionship. All it's doing is ensuring that you also never have companionship.
Mm-hmm.
And if Frankenstein was not a selfish, egotistical arsehole and like the creature exiled himself from society, which he talks about multiple times, like, "I should have like gone out into the woods." It's like that's what the creature wanted.
Yeah.
If you're not going to build it a wife, it wants you to suffer like it has so you can realize how bad it has it. And at no point does he ever contemplate, having nobody and being only driven by revenge fucking sucks. You know, thinks maybe the creature had a point.
Maybe.
This is terrible.
Maybe. But no, why not? God, like, at some point, you have to sit there and go, like, maybe I'm the villain here, right?
Are we the baddies? That's the thing. It's the monster is a villain, but as the villain wiki clarifies, it's a tragic villain.
Yes.
It's a villain born of circumstance. And nothing it does is out of malice, save for the things that, after it's just had possibly the worst start to life imaginable. It being immediately rejected by its creator.
Yeah, like, it's just rough from second one, right? It just...
Yep.
I can't imagine living that life where just... Okay, yeah, everyone gets dealt a different hand, but Frankenstein's creature gets dealt the worst hand, and then it's like, I can't believe he would murder someone.
Yeah. So all I did is just sentence it to a life of abject misery. Because also the creature lives forever as well.
Yeah.
So effectively sentenced it to hell on earth for the entirety of eternity. But while the creature is generally portrayed as miserable and embittered pariah, his intellect varies greatly depending on adaptation. While in the book he was strategizing, somewhat educated, and highly cunning, this was eclipsed by his perhaps more iconic depiction in the Universal movies. In these, he seldom speaks, although when he did, his words carried a great deal of gravity and cryptic meaning to them. He was largely mute, and later adaptations mistook this for stupidity, will portray the creature as an imbecilic man-child.
Yeah, it does seem that they're low on intelligence.
One thing, though, that generally carries over between adaptations is that the creature is vegetarian.
Oh, right,
and it never kills an animal. The only animal it kills, at least in the novel, is a hare, which it leaves out for Frankenstein to eat. Because what it does is it runs into the wilderness and just keeps leaving taunting messages for Frankenstein. And at no point while he's chasing it does he think, "Man, traipsing through the woods on my own with nothing to eat fucking sucks." He's like, "No, the creature must pay for doing this." At no point does he ever think to himself of "Man, this fucking sucks. The thing that is making me do this would pay," and reflects it back on himself that's what the creature's doing. He has zero self-awareness. And even when he's on his fucking deathbed, he's lying there dying, and he tells someone, "Please continue my murder quest and kill the creature in my stead."
Oh dear God.
He goes to the grave holding the grudge. And do you know what's really funny? The creature, the last page of the book is the creature breaks in to steal his body. And he just looks at him, and it's it gives this big lamenting speech about how its revenge didn't bring it happiness. And it says, I've got nothing left, so I'm going to go to the deepest, darkest part of the world, and I'm going to set myself on fire. You'll never see me again. The creature has more self-awareness than Frankenstein does.
Yeah, even when the creature isn't really in the wrong, they're the one to give it up and be like, I will go and set myself on fire.
Exactly like it promised to do. It sticks to its promise of now I've got no... it says if I can't have a bride, my purpose will be tormenting you.
I think it knows that Dr. Frankenstein had the ability to make another person. All it asks for is a person like them that they can live a life with that will accept them. That's all they're asking. And then, obviously, the tragic end of the story is just that, they get fucked.
Yep. So we do have, though, Lucas, some powers and abilities. So, superhuman conditioning. Victor's creation was specifically made to be stronger, faster, more durable and agile than an ordinary man. The creature's tremendous strength can be attributed to his vast size and muscle mass. The creature's superhuman prowess allows it to scale a mountain in a short period of time.
A mountain?
Yeah, it just runs up a mountain. Superhuman strength. The creature possesses uncanny strength, which is approximately 8 feet in height and proportionally large. He could easily crush a cottage or tear a man limb from limb with ease, though he never does this. That's the thing, it only ever defends itself, and the only people it kills are people to taunt Frankenstein.
That's obviously the point, right? Is that it's seen as the monster, but it's not actually the monster of the story. And just... it does nothing with all the power that it has. And
he says that when the village, when he finally works up the courage to go into the village and tell the people, because they say oh, for some reason there's just firewood keeps appearing outside of our door, and there's food outside, and our chores will be done when we go out, and they attribute it to a friendly spirit. And the creature's hey, I did all that to try and prove that I'm worth
monster
something. And they said second one. It's
hey, I was helping you out and giving you everything I could in the darkness so that you wouldn't judge me. Now that I've stepped out, I hope you can appreciate the things I was doing for you. And you fucking prick, let's kill you.
What makes it worse as well is the creature specifically chooses to talk to a blind man first. And it says to the blind man, it tells them, hey, the person who's been helping you has been me. And you can't see what I look like, but I look awful. But from my voice, can you tell that I mean you no harm? And the old man's yeah, I can tell that. And before he can finish his sentence, and I knew the bit was coming, it still got me. His son comes home and just attacks it with a fire axe.
Oh, no.
And the family is never seen again. And the creature just spends months crying. Cause it's the only connection it had to humanity just ran away. Second one, it's no. Well, here we go. Superhuman speed. The creature has been stated as being able to climb mountains in a short amount of time. It is described as moving swifter than an eagle. Eagles swoop down at speeds of 200 miles an hour, so this is likely an exaggeration. However, the creature does claim that it's faster than a stag when running casually. And a stag can run at speeds of 70 kilometers an hour.
I do absolutely love the interpretation that kind of Death Battle normally goes with. Fuck it.
Death Battle does not understand what metaphor is.
No, but that's the thing I enjoy, is that they take everything to the literal extreme, and they go, well, if something is stated in the text to be as fast as an eagle, that means it can go as fast as an eagle, right? Because
there's no such thing as subtext or analogy.
But I for the sake of the content that they make, the idea of taking it literally, because that's the similar thing I've done in the past with videos about Pokemon, right? Is that
if you take the descriptions literally,
you don't take the descriptions as metaphorical. If you take them as literal, then all of a sudden, Arcanine running 5,000 miles in one day means that shit can hit you like a freighter truck.
No, yeah, the thing is absolutely unstoppable. Speaking of which, superhuman durability. The creature's bones and muscles are more dense than those of a human. It could withstand being in the Arctic with no discomfort, and it only wears rags to hide its appearance from those. And people just say it looks like a tall man from a distance, but up close you can tell the monster.
It's interesting because one of the most prevalent things about kind of the pop culture references and kind of
so like a stumbling shambolic corpse almost, right?
That there are super slow, completely like brain dead corpses, just like
yeah. When in reality, it is in all ways better than humanity because even though I said it's vegetarian, it doesn't even destroy. Like it lives in perfect harmony with the land.
A lot of the times it's seen as near indestructible and super strong, but always super dumb and super fat, super slow, right?
Yeah, but it's basically superior to all humans because it continues here. Virtual self-sustenance. The creature could survive off the most minimal quantities of food and water despite its large size. It says like I'd eat berries. I eat berries and drink like a handful of water from a creek, and then I'm good. Superhuman agility. It was more flexible than average human. Superhuman stamina. The creature was virtually immune to fatigue, could climb the Alps without stopping or swim across the English Channel without rest. Immortality. Because the body was composed of raw material from the charnel houses, the creature was immune to biological aging. He was also immune to illness. However, he was presumably only biologically immortal and could conceivably be killed with enough force. In the novel, Victor, upon creating his creature, says he had hoped, and I quote, to banish disease from the human frame and render man invulnerable to any but a violent death. He apparently succeeded in doing both with the creation of the monster.
And at that point, it obviously becomes magic, right? Because it's similar to where I think The Walking Dead gets into it, right? Where just the zombies are around for long enough that they're just like fucking skeletons by the end of it because decaying still happens within the flesh. It doesn't matter whether they're alive or dead. Like, the being alive part means that the flesh isn't decaying, whereas the being made of composite dead material would imply that Frankenstein would just decay over time.
But because it's kept alive by the mysterious new process,
magic,
which Frankenstein invented, magic essentially, yeah. You don't need to explain it; it will not age. And that's the thing, is like it's basically just been condemned to live forever in a world that hates it. It has superhuman healing factor, healing faster than an average human, and superhuman intelligence. It manages to read books such as Milton's Paradise Lost, one of the volumes of Plutarch's Parallel Lives, and Ghosts, The Sorrows of Young Werther, within a year of being born. He also knew multiple languages, learned entirely by rote recitation and hearing others speak them. And Victor Frankenstein was afraid the creature would learn how to replicate the creation process by observation alone. And that's what he worries, like, well, if it learns how to do this, then it could make more of itself.
But realistically, that's just paranoia on their behalf, right?
Yes.
They come to birth with no knowledge other than there is a man in front of me that ran away. Yeah. Like, ultimately, it's just a what if.
Yep.
And they're becoming prejudiced on that creature because of a what if, right?
Yep, maybe here's some trivia. Frankenstein's monster is arguably considered the most tragic villain in all of fictional history, as he was shunned since the very first moment he came to life, ostracized and rejected despite having entirely good intentions. He was repeatedly deprived of love and affection and became murderous solely to avenge his own misery. But he ultimately regretted his actions and opted to commit suicide to stop himself committing any more harm.
Yeah, like I do think that they are like up there in terms of just how
I can't think of like a creature
character they are.
Yeah, and it says as well, like, it's funny because the villains wiki links to the heroes wiki because there's also been heroic depictions of Frankenstein, and in some cases you could read Frankenstein as like a tragic hero, if not a tragic villain, because like the fact that it still tries to help people.
And another one that
just like ignore the last half of the book where it starts killing people.
Yeah, another one that I did forget to mention that kind of reminds me of a probably inspired by Frankenstein story is Beauty and the Beast, right? The beast locked in his tower that's actually that has been basically cast aside by society, and they come out with him with pitchforks and shit.
Yep. And it mentions here, like, in regards to that, on set, Kenneth Branagh, who portrayed Victor... On set, Kenneth Branagh, who portrayed Victor Frankenstein, refused to accept naming De Niro's character any insulting names. So Kenneth Branagh directed an adaptation of Frankenstein. He instead chose to call the monster simply the Sharp-Featured Man. Out of respect.
Yeah.
I don't want to call like this thing monstrous. Like, it's not a monster.
No, it's not.
It's misunderstood. That's like when you get one of like the greatest like oh man, just the sun was rubbing its knob when it did this. So whichever writer at the Sun posted it of like woke university students argue that the monster in Frankenstein is the real victim. And it's like every comment is like, that's the point of the book, you fucking idiot.
That's the entire fucking book, you everyone that writes for the Sun, including the fucking person who runs our country, Keir Starmer, is a cunt, and they can fuck off.
And it's like, yeah,
I'm
way
going
to
on
misunderstand.
record. I'm just not even. I'm not even going to back down from that statement. Fuck them all.
Imagine having a 200-year-old book so widely adapted that it has become just common parlance. Like the word Frankenstein is now just a common usage word for a monster, and having the plot and theme be so widely adapted that it is now a trope. It is now a genre unto itself, and still misunderstanding what's written.
Imagine Rec 2 doing that shit and still like having a deeper understanding of it than you, like fucking columnists for the Sun.
Imagine going to university, getting all the way through university and never learning how to critically analyze something.
Like, honestly, imagine writing an article in a newspaper and someone coming back with you of just like, yeah, Shrek 2 understood this better than you did. A children's movie, and obviously created by adults who understood what they're talking about, but like,
yeah,
god damn.
This is a message. Yeah, it's a message so simple. We can adapt it and children understand it.
We put it into 5 Hotel Transylvania movies and the children got it. And you did not. Person who's paid to write for a newspaper.
And I like to think in that case they're deliberately misunderstanding it just to get rage clicks, right? You'd hope. But I have met people.
You would hope that that's what the Sun has always done. But Karl, I'm sitting here in Liverpool right now, knowing that the Sun will delve to like the deepest of depths of shit to make sure that they don't understand anything that's going on.
Yeah. And not to mention as well, I have sort of been working online for a long time. We've encountered many a person who refuses to critically engage with anything they consume and only reads it at the most superficial level. Like, what is it? Our video on Starship Troopers, where it's like a very basic, like it's not even the, like, what do we say, Lucas? It's not the subtext.
It's the entire text itself, right?
Of just the amount of people like, no, the bugs are the villains. They're just there. They're doing good by stomping out the bugs.
And I understand that I'm talking about a very localized issue.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think in the UK. So do you want to tell that story to end on? Because like,
you seem to be going in.
You're going in really hard on the Sun newspaper, and it'd be important to provide context for you as someone from Liverpool.
Yeah,
for people who understand why you're doing so.
So I will provide as much context as I feel like I need to get into. Of just the entire city boycotts the newspaper, the Sun, for very reasonable reasons.
It's been going on for like 30, 40 years. I remember I studied this
40, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, I studied this in university. So I did media and communication studies, and we were learning about, or one of the modules was on, and the responsibility of the media, and how like the media can frame things, the same subject in different ways to elicit a specific reaction. And we used the Sun newspaper as like a specific example of how they framed an issue so poorly they ostracized an entire segment of the UK.
Yes, they so poorly told the story and like blamed,
Oddly enough, as well. I mean, Sheffield, right? So it's relevant to where I am as well.
Yeah, totally. Just there was.
Should we tell the Cliff Notes version without getting too much into
there was the Hills were a disaster, which was a disaster and was awful, but the Sun portrayed it as like a problem of football fans and especially Liverpool football fans, and basically spent years campaigning on the side of like the police. And I would encourage people to lean it and look into it more. All I'm going to do is explain it very badly. But
I've written a script on it for Geographics. If you can go find it.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And essentially, it led to being, I say a newspaper outlet that is boycotted by an entire city, if not region, because of how poorly they did the just the people and the people who were just fans of football who got unfairly caught in a disaster and blamed.
Yeah, they were killed by human incompetence, and the response from the police was lackluster.
And the Sun stayed on their side and defended them for many, many years, and
spent millions doubling down, and spent millions of pounds and decades of time doubling down on their coverage, which included a headline accusing Liverpool fans of looting the dead.
Yeah.
By showing a picture of Liverpool fans helping other fans out of the wreckage. And they got that photo, and rather than assuming maybe the people are helping, said no, because Liverpool, we all know people in Liverpool were all thieves. Yeah. Right?
Leaning into
so they portrayed it as
stereotypes from the 60s and 70s, I believe, and stuff. Yeah.
Not even anything. It's just we're gonna play up to a outdated stereotype by the standard of the 80s.
Yeah. So basically, just spent decades being absolute shitholes to all of those people that lost lives and all of the friends and family affected, an entire city just stained with this red brush from that outlet, and just absolutely go fuck them, and anyone who would write for or defend that outlet in particular, the Sun, can go fuck himself. Yeah. Including, as I say, the person who runs the fucking country right now.
It's to the point where you can download. I think I have it on my computer, on the specific version of Chrome that I have for researching. It's just a Chrome addition that just filters out any results from the Sun.
Yeah.
So you don't have to give any clicks.
Yeah, absolutely. Just they don't even deserve to be called a newspaper. They are an outlet in my eyes.
Yeah, it's not a newspaper. It's just I don't know who runs it, but it's their opinion.
Yeah. They can go fuck themselves. So yeah.
But it's a fascinating story, if incredibly frustrating.
Horribly awful and frustrating. But I would encourage
endlessly
people to,
frustrating.
Go and at least look up a couple of things and educate yourself of how poorly people can be represented within just biased media,
that's
mainstream newspaper media.
It's why it was so fascinating to me when I was studying in university, when they were talking about how of just one newspaper managed to piss off an entire city. And for a while, there's people to this day. Obviously, it's kind of well known now that most people do accept it, but there's still a couple of diehards out there who still accept the Sun's recounting of events, which are categorically false. They've effectively created a false history.
It's fascinating.
People now believe.
The
power of media, right? That's why you should think critically about the media you consume, because it can influence the world, history.
Yeah, I still remember one person a new manager in Nando's restaurant who would come from another city. Oh hey, it's weird. I learned today that you can't get the Sun anywhere here, and I tried to go to a few places, it just wasn't stocked anywhere, and then all of a sudden I googled it, and holy shit, this was a thing that was completely, out of their wheelhouse, and they had.
Yeah, I think for me, I just assume it's what I think it's. For me, I assume it's a well-known fact I learned in university, and it's just one of those pieces of knowledge that is foundational to my understanding of interacting with the news.
And I assume that it's well known because I've grown
You're
up
from the
and
place
lived
where
around the area where it's affected, right? Yeah.
But it is interesting because it is localized. But for me, you knew it's something that it never even come to mind that it's not something everybody I interact with knows, because it is such a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a big thing to everyone out there, and I invite people to go out there and read the story for themselves if they can deal with how annoyed you're going to get.
Yeah, at very least, I would suggest that if people want to educate themselves, they look up the vague details of the matter if we haven't described it well enough. But yeah, it's
there's also some documentaries out there on it. There's a couple of
lots of stuff.
Like I said, I wrote a geographic script for it, because when I read through it, because I was editing for them at the time, and I read through it and I think I'm gonna have to near rewrite this one in its entirety. And it's okay, so what makes you say that? So it happened in the city I live in. Also, this is clearly written by someone who doesn't know what football is.
Yeah.
So just like language-wise, this is just not going to fly. Like I'll clean it up so it doesn't make you sound like you're reading from a Wikipedia page. Not a lot of person used Wikipedia, but it read so clinically.
Yeah, it's a tough subject to talk about and cover, of course. There are a lot of like actual people and families affected by it to this day, and like there was only really like a turnaround of justice for the people, I think, like a decade ago, where like the actual court case went through and like kind of bereaved a lot of the fans themselves of fault. Then yeah, that's something that people literally had to fight against because of like cops and news media for decades.
Oh yeah, in lockstep with one another, as is often the case, like, which is another thing, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah, maybe a subject that we will cover no more than this, because generally we try to keep things lighthearted, and we fell down a bit of a rabbit hole.
But media in general is, like I say, I've got a degree in it, so it is something I am happy to speak to, but just when I prepare myself. This was more just rereading an old book from when I was in school, and it's like, oh, is it that I was in school when I was like basically being spoon-fed the answer by my teacher? It's like, no, it's obvious from second one what the message is.
But Karl, why are the curtains?
I hate that so much.
I hate that shit. I've like the idea that an author has zero intent in any of the description that they put in.
Like, there might be Ubisoft, right? Why are those Ubisoft curtains blue?
Because, Karl, many people created this game and no opinions matter whatsoever.
Yes, this Ubisoft game was created by people who have many favourite colours.
The many favourite colours, many favourite curtains. However, none of that opinion was put into the game. Do not worry about it, please.
I think the only time you can ever say like something was created with zero intent is an Ubisoft game.
No, I think it was created with much intent from the designers. I just think the company has absolutely zero balls to back any of it up. So just puts like a legal disclaimer at the front of like, nobody meant anything. It's like, I can't imagine how it must feel to be a creator that worked on a game for years, many of the games, and just the moment someone like tries to interact with your work of art before even having a second to think about what you've put in the system, it's like, no, we as a company do not believe that anyone put anything into this game with any belief behind it. And it's like, it's so frustrating to see as somebody who studied, like, you know, I say like literature and shit, right, of just the idea of putting a disclaimer at the start of a work of art of none of this means anything.
Yeah, which all it does for me is like, why should I play it then? Why should I read it?
And you know that there's hundreds of creative people that worked on it and do give a shit and did put meaning into it. But at Ubisoft, they just have zero fucking respect to any of those people.
Of course, yeah. Bums on seats. Republicans buy shoes too.
It pisses you off so much to see, right?
It does as someone who like really enjoys like, analysing media and feels that it gives you a better appreciation for it. Because I never understood the people who can base their entire personality around a specific kind of content, a specific series, a specific game, movie, TV show, character in some cases, and not think about it at all. Like people who like make Star Wars their entire personality, and then when you mention to them, like, oh, well, that new Andor show, or the new season is like, you know, directly dealing with the parallels to fascism present in the original text. Like, I don't see that. They're called stormtroopers.
They're called the Empire.
So I don't see that. It's like they walk around dressed all in black and command stormtroopers.
They wear SS uniforms. Like the officers are wearing fucking SS uniforms.
And it's like, no, there's nothing meant by that. It's like, okay, but surely if that's the case, that's still interesting to talk about because that means it was created by someone who doesn't know what World War II is.
Like they wear World War II Nazi officer uniforms without the red band on. Therefore, everything is fine and normal. And it's like, as you say, if anything, that would kind of be interesting that the production
That'd be more interesting, right? If George Lucas
knowing any of that without thinking
if he did it
about it.
But we know that he did because he was directly inspired by World War II movies.
Mm-hmm.
and footage of dogfights for like the space fights, and the outfits of the Empire inspired directly by Nazi uniforms, and the Rebel outfits were inspired by like the Vietnam resistance fighters outfits, and their tactics, like the fact they fight in the jungle.
Yeah, literally Return of the Jedi. Right.
And obviously, how much you want to read into that is up to you, but you can't deny that it doesn't exist.
The Ewoks fighting back with like log and spikes and traps in the jungle against like the
technically superior, more better armed and organized force. It's not subtle, and you can say that you don't see it that way, or the extent to which it impacts your reading of it can vary, but you can't say it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, even if it's unintentional, it's still interesting.
It would the amount of times where so much more insane if it wasn't intentional, though, right?
Well, I wrote a script recently about The Walking Dead, and I referred briefly to the original Night of the Living Dead. There was a great interview with George Romero where, like, the interviewer, who is black, sits down and asks George Romero, like, so I've always wanted to ask you this, of like, Night of the Living Dead is such a foundational movie for black academics because it's one of the first major blockbusters you can point to where the main character is black. And keep in mind, like, Night of the Living Dead was made in like the 70s. The civil rights movement was ongoing while Night of the Living Dead was being made, and the main character is black. And the ending of the movie, if you've not seen Night of the Living Dead, is the black main character survives being attacked by the zombies, walks outside, and a bunch of white hillbillies shoot them because they assume that they are bad because of how they look. And George Romero, when he was asked about this, he was like, you know what? I never thought of it like that because I'm white. And it just never occurred to me.
Again,
the dude who played the actor who's just the best guy for the role. I never considered the implication of him being black in that role. But when it was pointed out to him, he's like, well, that's interesting. And I like that. And I like that you can interpret it that way because the zombies are always meant to be a metaphor.
Yeah, I again, as just like a white person, like I never actually saw significance within that. But that's so interesting because like I just saw it as like a zombie movie, right? And I didn't, especially without the context. I grew up like, you know, I probably watched that movie in the noughties. Like I didn't have like the social context around the time, but like, yeah, like to me that was just oh yeah, well of course a zombie movie, and like they mistake a person for being a zombie or whatever, and they kill them.
Yeah, but when you have like the hillbillies turn up in the trucks with shotguns, shooting a black dude, and seeing him as a monster entirely based on his appearance, like see, George Romero admits I had no idea about that reading.
Yeah.
Well, that is so interesting, and he's so happy to hear someone interpret it that way. Of like, it's not what I intended, but I love that you can interpret it that way. And I'm so glad that something I made accidentally resonated so much with so many people.
Yeah, I think like, you know, it's one of those things of like by the time I watched that movie, it was a pretty normal thing for a black person to be a starring role in a movie, right? That didn't ever come across like as a weird thing, as a different thing to me. But yeah, that does make sense at the time that it was made.
Yeah, one of the earliest like black-led movies. And it's the reason I mention it in the script about Walking Dead is that's an interview with Robert Kirkman, where he talks about how, well, in Walking Dead, I intentionally put as many people of color into my like comic and later the show as possible, as a direct reference to George Romero having the balls in the 70s to make a black guy the lead. And like George Romero was like, I didn't even think about it that way, but the impact of it is still felt to this day. Like you have creators inspired by his work going out of their way to include people of color in their content as a reference to something that wasn't intentional.
Yeah, and there's one weird thing as well, like not to you know,
try
to speak on behalf of people too much, but like there was a thing going around, I think it was mainly just on TikTok, of like, well, gingers are black now. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, oh well, you know, ginger people also were like ostracized from society just for something they couldn't control. As absolutely fuck off. Like
not to the extent.
Like yeah, a little bit of casual bullying that I experience is not the same of like the shit that black people went through. I'm not going to put myself through that same like lens, and absolutely I disagree. And I was just like, what are we on? What are we talking
if you're going to
about?
make a comparison something less loaded.
It's so extreme, right? Of just like, oh well, ginger people also got picked on. It's like that's not the same.
But you mentioned Harry Potter earlier, and the last thing I want to mention is like they've cast Snape, and it's a black dude playing Snape. And one of the funniest tweets I saw in response to that is just, I can't wait for the flashback of James Potter bullying the poor black kid for the way that he looks and for having greasy hair. I wonder if the creators know how bad that's going to look with the context. That's the thing. Obviously, they're probably thinking, oh, well, it doesn't matter who plays the role. It's like, that is true to an extent, but if you cast a black guy in a role played by a white person, and then there's scenes in that character's flashback where they're being bullied for the way they look, those scenes are going to read very differently.
You're like adding even more context. You're making James Potter to like not just be a bit of a dickhead, also be a complete racist asshole, right?
We're also talking about like Harry Potter, where there's like one black kid in that school. So James Potter is going to be singling out the only black kid.
And there's also like one black adult whose last name is like Shacklebolt or something, right?
Oh yeah, Kingsley Shacklebolt.
Yeah, God. Like we can talk about the bad stereotypes and naming conventions in that all day long.
Oh, it's great. What's the Irish character's name again?
Like Seamus Finnegan, and their favourite thing is explosives.
Yeah.
Finnegan, right? And yeah, the one problem they have academically is they keep blowing things up. It's like, oh, JK, you're a cunt in many ways, but dear God, you just spelled it out right.
The best one is when
11 years old.
When the stage show, they cast someone black to play Hermione, and I was like, who gives a fuck, right?
Yeah.
But J.K. Rowling's like, why I always wrote Hermione to be black. And it's like, no, you didn't, because you have a plot line in the third book, or the fourth book, about Hermione being annoyed that wizards have slaves. And there's no fucking way you wrote that story with Hermione being black in mind. Because can you imagine the spew storyline in Harry Potter? Don't change anything about it, but now just imagine Hermione is black.
Yeah.
How differently does that scene read?
It does read a lot differently, right? It would be a lot more implied, but never forget that there's like one character who's Ron's love interest that changes race between movies because she like becomes the main love interest.
Supposedly at J.K. Rowling's behest.
Like that person was I believe they had like dark skin in like the second movie and then third movie or whatever, whichever movies it is. They all of a sudden become a white woman because they had to become Ron Weasley's love interest. And it's like...
It's also as well like the context of what's Hermione bullied for throughout the books, having curly hair. Now imagine if she was like a little black girl getting bullied for having curly hair.
But again, I enjoyed she never thought of that as a kid, but there were many, many problems that we didn't see because we were 11 years old reading that shit.
But it's just so funny to think about, right? Of like, I don't want that to happen, but I would pay money to be on the set as they are trying to direct that scene.
But like, there's so many things in those texts that, as we say earlier, they're not the subtext, they're the outright text of like, what do we do to make an Asian character? It's like, Cho Chang. Oh, do you know that's like two different names from two entirely different Asian countries? Fuck it, that sounds Asian enough to me.
The one that's real bad that I didn't even pick up on is Rita Repulsa. So what's Repulsa? She's ugly, right? It's an ugly last name. Every time she's described, and I went back and I read.
She's described in like a really manly way, right?
She's always described as having large, mannish hands. Every single time she's mentioned, J.K. Rowling specifically singles out she has mannish hands. Every single time. It's the only character she does that for.
Yeah, it's that weird thing of, again, that's more in the subtext than it is the text. But like that character is often pointed out as like, is this J.K. early on trying to just be like poking her hand, like dabbing it a little bit into the transphobe spear? Of just like describing this woman as like being completely mannish and repulsive, and yeah, like we should have seen the signs, but we were kids, and Yeah, what cunt?
I'm all down though, because that TV show has got to follow the books exactly, because the fans who are obsessed with the books and don't care about the transphobia.
I'm very disappointed in the people I've seen like sign on to that project in the year of like 2025, when it's not even subtle anymore that JK is being a fucking utter transphobe and trying to push people into like literal law changes within the UK. And there's people like I hate to see it, but like I think Nick Frost was like signed on to be Hagrid, I believe. It's like, oh, I'm so excited to do this. It's like, fuck you, man.
Nick,
I appreciate your other work, but how can you support this franchise and this creator this year? It's like,
the funniest one.
And there was I can't remember the actor's name now. Another one that was like a high kind of like A-list actor, that was the one who plays like Lord Farquaad, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I can't remember his name, but like he's another character in it, and just seeing these people line up to make a lot of money off Harry Potter, I'm like, can you not see what's happening? Can we not have some principles?
Are you not supposed to be Pedro Pascal?
Yeah.
You see him? It was one of the, like, last one is when he was like asked about J.K. Rowling. He's like, she's pathetic. For context, it's like Pedro Pascal's a trans sister.
Yes.
And he's very outspoken about this. And he's like, J.K. Rowling is pathetic. She needs to stop thinking about like how other people choose to live and love. And the best bit is J.K. Rowling like try to retweet it of like, who is this again? It's like, you know who Pedro Pascal is.
Like,
she's trying to pretend that he like the biggest fucking actor on the planet.
I also
a piece of shit.
Respect, right. Most of the main actors, I believe, from the main cast, like,
every single one, right? Yeah,
like Daniel Radcliffe. I'm trying to remember the names now.
Rupert Grint and Emma Watson. Every single one of them is like, she's a piece of shit. She's grown into the exact same kind of person Hermione would hate.
Yeah, exactly right. And I believe like a bunch of the child actors of all,
every single one,
including like the wider cast, have all just been like, no, JK can go fuck herself, and she's been like, I can't believe you guys will betray me like. Yeah, they were immediately like wrote statements of like, I can't believe that this is the way that JK is going it, and statements that she is making, and they hated on her so fast. It's
like, we got our bag, fuck you.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine it being like Daniel Radcliffe, right? He must spend like every fucking day having people of like all walks of life come up to him and tell him how much it meant to them. And surely, like, until she became a huge piece of shit, J.K. Rowling must have the same thing, right? That she must like, so obviously she rewrote, she retroactively made a character gay because there was a lot of gay undertones to the story. So she must have known that a lot of people from different walks of life were taking inspiration from the stories.
Yeah, and it's tough because like I grew up as a Potterhead.
Potterhead.
That was Potterhead, yeah. Bit of both. And I sat there and did all the quizzes of like, what house you in and all this shit. And it's tough, right? Because like it's hard to all of a sudden go from like, this is a fun thing that we tried to have like a fun bit of identity attached to oh god, this is awful. And
which is just a huge red flag, right? But it's why the most evergreen tweet is, and it's accurate as well. Someone actually went and fact checked it to see. It's like there is a higher rate of regret for Harry Potter tattoos than there is for people who transition.
Yeah,
and that went so viral that like J.K. Rowling herself responded to it in the original credits. Like, fuck you.
Absolutely every single video I ever see of like, what are the cringeworthy tattoos? What are the tattoos you cover up the most and stuff? And every answer is Harry Potter tattoos now.
Every single one.
And good on you. Good on you all for regretting those tattoos and getting them covered up.
A friend of mine has one, and every time like she's wearing like shorts or something, I just look and go, you know, you're a big Potterhead. It's like, shut up.
I nearly got one.
Every time.
I thought about getting one. I can't deny that.
You still got one, right? If anyone sees that picture online, like the guy's got the huge Dobby on his chest, that's Lucas.
I can say right now, all I've got on my chest right now is a bit of a rash.
The guy who has the huge Dobby on his chest, and it's like, ignoring the fact that she's a piece of shit. You imagine this guy's just on top of you, and you just look up, and he's like, Dobby is just there.
I'm taking my medicine, Karl. I'm trying to fix it. I haven't got a Dobby tattoo.
It's like the dude who had like the giant fucking like Dumbledore on his back when he came out as gay. And then all of his mates would have roasted him like, you got gay.
Well, it's an excellent place to put your back shots, right?
It's just, why have you got the gay wizard on your back?
You've got the target right there.
You got the gay wizard. Look at him go.
Oh, God.
Big gay wizards.
And Michael Elaine, I want to say in chat, says people of color, trans people, I think they should be valued and represented, and 100%.
Yeah,
of course.
It's so easy to say. It takes more effort to give a shit.
I would hope that the conversations we have always would, without really needing to say it, kind of give away our values. But I think it's always good to say, like,
it doesn't hurt.
Black Lives Matter. Trans rights
it requires no effort to say, right?
Humans' rights matters in general. Like,
it's the theme of the fucking book, damn it.
Yeah, goddamn.
It's like, so simple. It's like children read this.
It's very simple, and we hope it always goes without saying when we don't say it. But yeah, of course, we have no shame and no problem with saying it because that's what we believe in.
Yeah, we don't have to keep saying it all the time. You don't after a while. Like, people get it, right?
People get it, I would hope. And I always say that, I believe in human rights for everybody, apart from people that disagree with that statement. And that's always the moniker I go by. Is just, I would hope that people know that by watching our content. And thank you for watching our content, and thank you for supporting us. I think it's probably a good way to, like, lean off for today and just say goodbye.
It is, yes. Thank you for watching. See you all next time.
Now.